Good afternoon, good evening, good day, good morning to those of you out on the West Coast. And for those of you celebrating Remembrance Day today, thank you for the sacrifices of your family and friends throughout history, especially obviously World War One and Two, where it started. Uh, the stories today, I've got a couple of them already in my notebook, and I did not get a chance to offload the ones in the phone to the computer today, so you might see me picking up the phone today, but it is what it is. I'd rather you get the story than just leave it in there for next week because we've got so many. Like the little tab counter on the mobile browser just it stopped counting. It's just here's some more tabs for you. Let's see. But the first one we've got is big news. So let's start with this. Oh, I don't need to reshare. I've already got it shared. I just need to turn it on. Ha! So this is a Tesla blog post. What they're doing here is they're changing the Tesla 2 connector and port. They're not physically changing them. What they're doing is they're opening them. They've renamed it from the TSLA-2 to the North American Charging Standard. What's so cool about this is that it's now open for everybody to use. And you might say, oh, I didn't even check the audio. I'm doing all this talking. Let me check real quick. Yes, okay. So some folks have said, "Oh, how's that any different than when they said all their patents are open?" This is much different for a couple reasons. One, the way that the open patents agreement was structured, uh, if you weren't already open sourcing your patents, they pretty much became open sourced. You'd agreed to not sue Tesla, not make derivatives, um, not to charge other people licenses, that sort of thing. Whereas this is going to be more like a traditional standard, or it will be as soon as it gets approved by one of the bodies they sent it to. Um, but even better than some of the ones I've seen, you don't have to pay, $10,000 to look at the spec. You don't have to register an email. You just go to their website, which is linked right here in the right here. It is tesla.com/support/charging-product-guides pound hashtag NACS resources. So basically, what let's go there now. I can open a new window in it. Nope. Okay, so it takes you straight here where you can look at the tech specs, the pin diagrams, and how you get AC and DC sharing, data sets, and you even get the CAD drawings. There was no email, there was no registration, there was no fee. And then when you read the documents, there's no permission request, there's no fee, there's no license. It's just open, which is really cool. A couple of things that we learned about the existing connector uh, as it is today is it supports 500 volts and 1000 volts, supports bidirectional charging, and is capable of up to 1 megawatt of fast charging. That's incredible, especially when you consider that the V3 superchargers today only go up to 250 kilowatts. Tesla pointed out that they tested theirs up to 900 amps, and I don't know that they're actually using that anywhere right now, but that's substantial. The other things that they point out are how much smaller. Same stuff we talked about when Aptera was pushing for everybody to vote uh, for this connection, the NACS connection to be the standard for the U.S. rather than right now. I don't think we actually have one. I mean, this is the SAE standard, the CCS right here, the big one, and we've got CCS, we've got CHAdeMO, and then we had what was called the Tesla connector. This guy right here, and you can see how much more space efficient it is on smaller vehicles like the Aptera. They've got the charge port behind the license plate. This doesn't fit behind the little motorcycle license plate that they've got. Yeah, you could turn it, but then you're out of spec. You're not supposed to be turning the CCS charge port. It sits like this. The handles are designed for that kind of weight, and so the only way to fit it would have been out of spec, or to put it on one of the other panels on the car, which would have messed with their aerodynamics because part of the thing about the Aptera is it's designed to be as aerodynamic as possible. And the other thing here is not only is it smaller, it's also lighter. And this is a V2 cable right here for Tesla V2 cable, or on the CCS, the CHAdeMO adapter. They're both this thick. I'm gonna say probably the CHAdeMO adapter because this is black instead of aluminum, and that's what mine looks like. The V3 superchargers also have this kind of black collar, but their cable is much thinner because it's liquid cooled. So what's also cool about this, they announced that several charging providers were signed on to adopt the standard. They're going to install this connector that your Tesla already has today on their charging station. So now if you're in an area like you're visiting family or on a business trip and they only have third party chargers because for whatever reason Tesla's just not there, uh, or this one's closer, or maybe EVgo or ChargePoint or whoever's running a free weekend, you can use theirs instead of using the supercharger. As I read through the documentation, it also pointed out that this is plug and charge ready. So uh, Tesla is actually using the standard plug and charge, the communication protocol, just like we saw on the AC charging, the level two, where it's standard J1772, just with this different connection on it. The spec is the same on as CCS as far as communications are concerned. So I was kind of chatting online with Kyle Connor and a couple others over at Out of Spec Motoring, and a bunch of just awesome. I'm going to use the term affectionately nerds. People who just get into this and understand even better than I do. They're saying that basically. So I was thinking, but they confirmed that based on everything they're seeing as well, you can just literally swap out this physical port. Well, not the cable, but the physical receptacle on the car for the one for the NACS, and then obviously maybe you have to do a software update, and it's good to go because the way that they do their handshake, uh, when it comes through, it says, "Hey, this is I'm gonna send you DC." It opens up the contactors for the high voltage charging to bypass the onboard charger. Same thing happens on the Tesla already. The only difference here is that it's all coming through one set of pins rather than on here. You've got AC charging is up here, line one and line two, and DC charging is here. One of them's positive, one of them's negative. Whereas on this one, it's line one and line two on AC, and it's again one of them is positive, one of them is negative on DC, which is pretty cool. And as I kept pointing out time and time again, that the only even though we call it the same thing, ours here is not the same as the one in Europe. So our CCS one is not the same as CCS two, and from what I'm understanding, is less capable as well. Mainly because we don't have three-phase power as a general rule here. I mean, we have it, and we do sell it, it's costly, but we don't put it in people's houses on the regular. I knew something was wrong, my chat window was closed. Good evening, Anders. It is 1911 over there, so we are now back on track with you. Uh, I want this in the rest of the world. Absolutely, I don't see why they couldn't. It depends on how the law is written in the EU, but I think that they could swap the standard for sure, and this would be great because that would mean the only place outside of um, China. China would be the only one that would have a different connection, and at that point, China might also want to kind of hop on board this. The only problem I see on the low voltage side is I don't know that this connector supports three-phase charging on the low voltage in mine. Or I wonder if there's a way that they could. No, you don't really want a separate, because then that ends up with the same situation we have with Type 1 and Type 2 CCS, where you've just got different pin layouts. even though it's the same standard. Baby steps. Or you guys give up three-phase charging and you just use this. There are a couple of well, I take that back. There not every place in Europe has three-phase charging at the charge points for the cars. Um, those that do, you plug in, and then every now and then you see a question on the forums and Reddit and wherever it says, "What's this three mean?" It means you travel to a country with three-phase power, Bo. You're getting all the cycles. So those countries that don't use three-phase at their charge points, they wouldn't be missing out on anything because it already can handle it's DC, so it's not a matter of 50 or 60 hertz, and then that's just a matter of the car's power supply being able to handle that, which it probably is as programmable as these things are. Yeah, and we've seen Tesla go both ways on this. They have an adapter now so that the cars can accept CCS. I say now it's been out for over a year now. It just started in the US though, and they've always shipped with the J1772 adapter. And then in Europe, they come with a Type 2 sockets, and they used to use the Type 2. They had an extension on it that would allow you to get the DC on the same pins, just like we have here in the states. They were just a little deeper, and every time I saw somebody try it, they'd end up getting stuck on the car for a non Tesla, like because it fit, but like there were a couple VWs and a handful of other cars I saw pictures of where they were saying, "Hey, I can't get it unlocked because the car had bit down on the supercharger handle and wasn't letting go." All right, so let's look at this and see what we can get from these specs here. Oh boy, let's go to the bottom. The For some reason the shortcut didn't work. Probably because I was scrolling when it was loading. All right, so here we've got their technical specs. This is what our charge port looks like here in North America, South Korea, and I believe Japan. And I was surprised. This is only a 30-page document, so it was rather light reading. Here they're talking about how it works. You've got your contactors, up about four of them. You got a positive DC and negative DC, vehicle battery, onboard charger, charge controller. The other thing is the lock is on the car, not on the handle. So it's solid state. There's no moving parts on the handle other than the squishy for the button, and they even give you the spec for the button and the radio transmitter to open and close the charge port, or just open in the case of Tesla, to open the charge port, which is awesome. Let's see here. I like the way they go over like all of the terms. Where was that? Like they go through like what's a door? What's the body in white? The B plus and B minus pins. What's a bus bar? What's a cable? What's a pin? So like they are going for like a standard, not just saying, hey, all your patents are belong to us. All right, here they're telling you the different levels you can have for the proximity pilot setting, and here is how the signaling works during DC charging. So you can tell if it's inactive, latched, unlatched, and here's it. Same for AC charging. That should be very familiar to all of them for J1772. They talk about the various safety systems, such as the proximity pilot monitor, the isolation monitor, etc. And then for DC charging, communication between the EV and EVSE, so that's the car and the power equipment, shall be power line communication over the control pilot line as depicted in DIN 7121. So this is the same as CCS. It is power line communication, which is why older legacy cars like mine can't um, can't can't take the adapter without getting a retrofit because they actually use a proprietary protocol uh, as it stands. But all the new cars, they speak power line straight to the supercharger or the CCS controller or whatever. So they're already ready to go. And when you look at CCS power line, they also pointed out that the North American charge standard is compatible with plug-in charge as defined in ISO 15118, which is where you can just plug in your car as you are used to with a supercharger. You just plug in your car, it knows who you are, who to bill, and you don't have to whip out a wallet, phone app, credit card, none of that. You just plug in and walk away. I agree, Anders. We should have a world standard for all of these things. And there are a couple of cars that aren't Teslas that support plug-in charge, such as the Mustang Mach-E, the Ford F-150 Lightning, the all of the Porsche and Audi um, clones of each other. There are several vehicles that support plug-in charge today, and Tesla using the standard for this is even better because now they don't have to rejigger their networks. They just have to put the cable on and make sure that it is speaking the correct protocol for the DC pins, and it's ready to go. Another thing that they pointed out that we didn't know because Tesla doesn't enable this on any of their vehicles today is it supports vehicle to X, vehicle to load, vehicle to grid, vehicle to vehicle, um, and vehicle to infrastructure, that sort of thing. So the North American charge standard is compatible with vehicle to X, i.e., vehicle to load, vehicle to home, vehicle to grid, power transfer. Future versions of this technical specification will specify the functional requirements and specifications required to achieve vehicle to X power transfer. That is huge. The reason Tesla doesn't offer it on their cars is because if you do it, it voids your warranty. Um, so perhaps if the Tesla Semi has this port as a secondary port, this is not the primary port on the Tesla Semi. They use either MCS2 or MCS3, which is the megawatt charging system. And the only reason they're not using this, even though it can do a megawatt, is they need multiple megawatts to make their 30-minute requirement that the driver let the truck be waiting on the driver, not the driver be waiting on the truck. Because when you're a commercial driver, time is money, and there is no there's no wiggle room. You have a certain amount of time you can be on shift, a certain amount of time you can be behind the wheel, and if you are not driving during your driving hours, you don't get those back. And so that's why they went with an even more powerful connector for the Tesla Semi. But megawatt is so far more than we're going to need for a while on passenger cars and pickup trucks. All right, let's see here. So they go over the general construction, like they tell you what the pins are or where they go. They give you the exact schematics you need to make one. Here they're pointing out the difference between the 500-volt and 1000-volt configurations. There isn't much difference. It just seems that the high voltage one is built to better tolerances, but you can physically see the difference here on the side right there. But the interface to the car, the 500 volts fit in the 1000s, and the 1000s fit in the 500s. So um, the only downside to picking the wrong one is that you're either wasting charge capability if you plug a slower car into the faster charger, or you are going to charge slower because you could have picked a faster station. There we go. There you can see the difference. I think part of this is we have liquid cooled cables on the V3 superchargers, but we saw Tesla filed a patent for liquid cooled connectors, where each of the pins would have liquid flowing through and around it. And so I'm wondering if that's what we're seeing here. Like you can see there's a difference, but like if you look at the measurements, there's not much different between the two. All right, where do we go here? There was some more information that was neat. One thing I do like about the Tesla, somebody was pointing out that, oh, it's so much easier, huh? I didn't make that claim that it was that much easier, but it does feel easier for me. It feels like I'm just flinging the cable at the car and it just takes it because look at how the physical connector is designed to perfectly have the seating of the connection. versus the way I felt with my volts was I kind of had to line them up a little bit better than I do. So it wasn't hard, but it was a little more mental effort. Just like not using autopilot on the road is not impossible. It's just takes a little more out of you. There's a little more thought, a little more manual dexterity that needs to be done. It's not insurmountable. Well, why do it if you don't have to? So for that one, I had to kind of line it up a little better and then push. It didn't have to be spot on, but some of them it had to be better than others, depending on who built the charging equipment. And I can only imagine that adding two large pins a little bit further down below means you have to be even more precise than you did with just the J1772 at the top. And even on the 1000 volt, same, and just easy, just pop it in there and it'll straighten itself out. You have to kind of get it close. There are times if you come too far off angle, it's not going to fit in there. So I mean, there's still a little bit of that hand-eye coordination, but not as much. And with the cables being thinner and the whole setup being lighter, that aids with your ability to manhandle the connection. All right. High voltage pin details. I think that's the biggest difference right there is how the pins are done on on the 1000 volt versus the 500. The design of the connector must remain within the keep out zone dimensioned below in order to prevent clashes or contact with the vehicle body. Keep out zone geometry is identical between the 500 and 1000 volt configurations, as it should be if they both fit inside the same socket. Um, when I was looking at this one, it reminded me of the size and shape of the CHAdeMO adapter for Tesla vehicles. But basically, you have to keep out of these areas to make sure that you don't mess up somebody's charge door, or their hit the fender or something, depending on which car we're talking about. Talking about the latch is just kind of right underneath there, which is awesome. The way Tesla does it is, again, it's passive, so the car bites onto the connector, and when it comes time to hang it back up on the station, you're hanging it by its lock. Uh, I don't know, what do they call the latch section? Right here on the bottom, this little dude right there, latch pocket, they call it, latch pocket position. The voltage ratings, the North American charging standard exists in 500 and 1000. The 1000 version is mechanically backwards compatible, i.e., 500 volt inlets can mate with 1000 volt connectors, and 500 volt connectors can mate with 1000 volt inlets. The North American charging standard shall specify no maximum current rating. So they have a 500 and 1000, but that's not all. You can go higher if you want to. um, Wait, the current, that's probably amps then, I'm sorry. Not volts. The current rating of the inlet or connector shall be determined by the manufacturer, provided that the temperature limits defined in Section 8 are maintained. Tesla has successfully operated the North American charging standard above 900 amps continuously with non-liquid cooled vehicle inlet. So that also brought up another point, is right now the station is liquid cooled on V3. It's not on V2. You could liquid cool the inlet on the car side to further improve this power transfer procedure. That is pretty cool right there, because I imagine if you get to a megawatt, you might want to not necessarily install beefier components on the car, but if you liquid cool them, they don't have to be beefier, assuming that you can keep the temperature down. And they point out the dust and water intrusion prevention that the socket and connector need to have, and where was it? So basically, they want to make sure that that while it's hanging up on the charging station, that it's not connected to your car, that it doesn't become damaged by just being out in the elements where cars live. Same for the inlet on the car. They want to make sure that as you're driving down the road with the door closed, that it's not going to have too much dust and water to the point where it doesn't function. Let's see, and then they tell you about how they do the tests, which is phenomenal. Upon completion of the test, the debris shall be present. No debris shall be present on live parts inside the connector enclosure. Compliance is checked with a high potential test or high pot between the high voltage, positive and negative, high voltage ground and low voltage and ground rated at the rated voltages. Then they do the same thing on the inlet itself. The connector and inlet system. When the inlet mounted to a representative body panel and the connector made it to the inlet, the system shall withstand an IP44 test as described in IEC 60529. So even though it is, what was it, IP67 for the car and the connector, they only need to be IP44 while they're connected. But while you're making the connection, that you're not hurting yourself in the rain. Like you've seen the photo of the um, supercharger station that's in England where it was like halfway underwater. Where if you look across that same parking lot, you see the non-Tesla equipment was fully submerged. But if you plug in that situation, you have to make sure that it's safe for the humans. So that's where they want to make sure that still got some level of water and dust resistance. That's the first letter is or first letter, the first number in an IPXX rating. The first number is water, second number is dust, and so they still want to make sure it has some level of resistance at 4.4 of water and dust resistance from outside factors while you're there having it plugged in and charging. But that's also where the tests come in, where we saw earlier with the signaling and the constant tests against ground isolation, that sort of thing, to make sure that if anything changes, the station and the car's contactors open immediately, so that there's no high voltage flowing and no extra danger to the humans. All right, so temperature rise is pretty interesting. If you've ever charged at a V2 station or tried to charge your car while it was just scorching outside, you might have noticed that it doesn't charge as quickly. There's a reason for that. So right here, Tesla is kind of taking a dig at the CCS and the others. When the subject temperature rise test of IEC 62196-1, section 24, the maximum interface contact temperature shall be 105 C. That's not the dig. The dig is in their note. Modern thermoplastics are commonly rated to 120 C and higher. The IEC 62196 limit of 90 C artificially limits the performance capabilities of EVs and EVSEs. So they're saying, hey, you can push it a little harder because you're not actually harming anything here. And so since they're making their own standard, they can set their own temperature limits. And they have. The maximum temperature rise of the interface contact shall be calculated by the maximum ambient temperature rating of the product and the maximum upper contact temperature of 105 degrees Celsius. So, for example, if the product is rated at a 50-degree ambient, then the maximum allowable temperature shall be 55 C. So, basically, you can only come up just a little bit above ambient at the pins, which is cool. The maximum surface temperature shall be in accordance with IEC 62196-1, section 16.5. So the surface temperatures what we're talking about here are no longer the pins. We're talking about the actual handle. And so that's why you see on V2 why it slows down so much and why when you go to grab that handle, it is uncomfortably warm, but not enough to burn you. And that's also why if you use Kyle's trick of putting a wet washcloth on the handle, you get some of your speed back for a minute because it is cooling the temperature down back to a more acceptable limit. And with that IP44 rating, you're not hurting anything. But you'll also see that's why the V3 superchargers are liquid cooled internally, so they can better regulate that. All right. They're talking about the insulated end caps. The impact test was pretty important to me. The connector shall be dropped from a 1 meter height in accordance with IEC 62196-1, figure 13. The number of drops shall be 100. So you've seen people abuse all of the charging handles, not just the Teslas, but um, all of them. The Teslas is a little easier because they have that short cable, so it's harder to damage them just because it's harder to get them, get a good whack with them, and it's harder to get them on the ground to run them over and that sort of thing. But 100 is great because these things are going to be out there with people, with lazy people, with folks who have a disability who accidentally drop it, with folks who have something happen and drop it, or uh, maybe a bear attack, and a bear comes by looking for food, and he knocks all the charge handles off the hook or something. Who knows? But 100 is good and respectable. And then uh, watch how they say this. They don't just say, "Oh, just drop it 100 times." They go a little bit further because they didn't like the drop test on the existing handles. I think they have a much lower number than 100. Uh, by existing, I mean the CCS, not the Tesla twos. Um, Upon completion of the impact test of 100 drops, the connector shall show no obvious signs of damage, withstand water ingress test to which it is rated, and maintain the creepage and clearance distances to which it was designed. So the handle needs to be still be in spec, still needs to resist dust, still needs to resist water, and it needs to look safe. Because if you look at it and it's got chunks missing out of it, you're gonna be afraid to use it, and there's a chance it also might be dangerous. You have the exposed pins. Um, Again, if everything else is working, it'll see that it's not right, and it won't accept a charge. But you don't want it to look scary either. Let's see. EVSE cables tend to fall on one side more frequently than the other. Yeah, especially the the NACS, the CCS, and CHAdeMO, because they have such bulky cables. They don't fall any which way like you would do a drop test for a phone or this mouse or something like that. When you're doing your drop test, they they can fall any which way because they're free and untethered. But these aren't just tethered; they're strongly tethered. So what Tesla is saying is um, that rather than rotating the connector every 45 degrees as suggested in section IEC 62196-1 26.3, is recommended that you conduct the test in a field representative way. So they're saying, hey, get out there and use this thing on an actual charging station, drop it that way 100 times, because it's going to tend to fall on, like, say, the left or right side or the top, but it's not likely to really be falling on the bottom. But when it does fall on the bottom, it's going to, because where the handles are on all of them, they got the handle is basically like, if this was my hand was a handle, the wrist is the cable, and then when it comes down, it's only going to really hit the tips if it doesn't fall over to one side or upside down to the top. So testing it this way, like as if it could fall, as if it didn't have a cable on it, that's unrealistic. So they say to test it in a representative fashion. It is also recommended to conduct the test on a variety of surfaces, such as concrete and asphalt. So I don't know what the actual testing procedure said in IEC 196. They Tesla took a objection to that it's not testing it on real surfaces. So you want to test it on concrete, asphalt, grass, gravel, wherever you're going to be putting these things up. Test it on that to actually make sure that it can survive and still be up to spec. Yes, you might be pleasantly surprised. You might get a 200 drop connector. All right, so then we've got the revision history of this document, and they updated it one time. It initially came out in August, and then just 10 days ago, they updated it with the General 5 construction to include mechanical details for both 500 and 1000 volt configurations. So I guess they didn't have the 1000 there last time. And then they updated this one to include the voltage rating for both 500 and 1000. All right, so let's move on to just quickly look at some of the other stuff, and then we're going to go on to other stuff. Um, the AC and DC pin sharing appendix. So I was looking at one of the engineers' Twitter pages who helped design this connection. He said that they were as they were designing this, Elon came in and did what he does and says, did the Steve Jobs on it and said, nah, it needs to do all this on two pins. I don't want extra pins for AC and DC. And again, this is before J1772 existed as a physical connector, and this is before, since that didn't exist, CCS didn't exist either. So it was before CCS existed as well. The signaling for J1772 is old as dirt. The original modern EVs, the EV1, the RAV4 EV, the from the late 90s, early 2000s, they had the Avcon connector that used J1772 signaling. They had the MagnaCharge used the J1772 signaling. So I do like that they just kind of carried that forward. Now we are 40 years later and still working. Okay, 30, but still. I told them to do it all with one connection. S- Make it smaller, make it more efficient, save on parts cost. And so the guy said how it was like a monumental task for them to get it engineered correctly, and they came out with it. I assume it was a guy. I didn't see any other pronoun type things to tell me to call him otherwise. Um, so here they're showing you got your charge port door, charge port. Of course, they're going to show their own because those are the only ones deployed right now. Your charge port controller and your battery management system and safety processor. So your fast charge contactor will bypass the onboard charger by connecting directly with the. You got another contactor here, the battery contactor. So when the DC is closed, you can charge the onboard and straight on through. And then the battery contactor is a safety feature for that when the car is off, it doesn't have high voltage just running. But because the Teslas never really turn off, they kind of open and close theirs all day long. Like my Volt, it never like once it was off, it never opened the high voltage connectors again unless it was like, connected to a charger. So anyway, detects the state of the charge port door, and latch interfaces with EVSEs. So they're doing more definition of what the components are. You got your onboard charger, which converts AC to DC power and is used for AC charging. The BMS safety processor, the BMS CP, which is fault bidirectional. So the hardware circuit controlled by the BMS, which disables the ability to drive the charge port door open and disengage the latch. Oh, sorry, drive with the charge port door open. Looks like they missed a word there. Uh, charge port door can still close and the latch can still engage. Always safe actions when the enable line is deasserted. All right, I don't remember this document. Maybe it came out after I started this, or maybe I just didn't read it for some reason. Detect the state of fast charge contactors. Got a failure mode. Fast charge contactor is detected as an open when it's mechanically closed. DC pack voltage on AC grid upon connection to AC EVSE. The severity 10 rating. The cause is the contactor state feedback fails during overcurrent event, which welds the contactors. That's really bad. Design controls, they have a redundant disconnect measures, the pack contactors and fast charge connectors. Redundant contactor state measurement and voltage measurement and mechanical position feedback. So they're saying they know that contactors fail, and so they have extras as well as sensors. Um, accurate fast charge connectors are a requirement to detect DC fast charge contactors. Detect the presence of the type of the EVC. That's pretty important. If you're expecting DC and you get AC, you need to be able to handle that gracefully, or vice versa. Request voltage from AC EVSE. System requests voltage from the AC EVSE when DC voltage is present on the fast charge link. So the DC machines to say, I don't know what you're talking about. DC pack voltage on AC grid upon connection of AC EVSE. That's not good. So that's a software bug. DC voltage is removed from the fast charge link using the contactors or fuse if charge cable is connected and not determined to be a DC EVSE. Hmm. All right, so that's good. Block connection of any charge cable with unexpectedly closed fast charge contactors. All right. Disconnect the pack from charge inlet if fast charge contactors are unexpectedly closed and cable can be connected. Those are good requirements. The onboard charger DC voltage withstand. Yeah, because if it is in any of those failure modes, there will be a moment where DC is going into the AC charger. So Tesla's implementation has the AC input of the onboard charger directly connected to the fast charge link. With this implementation, DC high voltage will be applied to the AC input of the onboard charger whenever DC fast charging is active. The onboard charger must be designed to withstand this DC voltage and must not attempt to convert power when DC fast charging is active to avoid damage to the onboard power converters. The maximum DC voltage of the onboard charger must withstand that the onboard charger must withstand can be derived as the greater of the maximum pack voltage and maximum voltage seen during the DC charging external isolation check. Now on Chatamo, you might have seen it does a sweep uh, of these incredible voltages before it checks to make sure there's no leaks, and before it starts to charge. So what they're saying here is their AC charger needs to be able to withstand those sweeps. Obviously, it's different on CCS, but not much. Um, and so what they're saying here is your AC charger needs to be able to handle the voltage that the pack can get, because your DC charging is going through the same connection and it's going to charge up to pack maximum, which the AC should be able to do anyway, unless you for some reason can't charge to 100% using your AC charger. And what they're also saying is that if the system detects DC coming in, don't try to convert the high voltage DC as if it was low voltage AC or lower voltage AC. Uh, then convert that to the pack, because then you'll fry your AC circuits. So as long as you know to shut them down, then they can be on the same line. If the onboard charger cannot meet this voltage withstand requirement, an alternative option is to separate the onboard charger from the fast charger link using relays or contactors, which is, I think, one of the strategies Tesla at least used to use. Like if you were in an older Model S, for instance, you'll actually hear a bunch of different contactors go as you plug in and plug out from AC or DC charging, and they sound a little different because they are. Let's see. Failure modes of the DC EVSEs must also be considered when choosing the maximum withstand voltage. Tesla has encountered situations where DC EVSEs applied higher than expected DC voltage during external isolation testing, caused by either vehicle or EVSE malfunctions, resulting in damage to the onboard charger or other components connected to the fast charge link. An example of this, EVSE is rated for maximum voltage supported by the CCS standard, unexpectedly applying this maximum voltage to a vehicle, advertising that it does not support this voltage range. So that would be like plugging in a Tesla at 400 volts to a CCS connector at 800 volts. The CCS machine should not apply anything more than the 400 voltage range to the car. But what Tesla's saying, they have seen a failed unit apply 800 volts to the car. So you need to have a strategy in place to deal with that. Let's see. While it's not required to ensure there's no damage to components due to this failure mode, manufacturers should consider this malfunction when designing the system, and at a minimum, ensure the failure is contained and does not pose safety hazards. Yeah, so here you don't want a malfunctioning high power station to destroy and set on fire a low voltage car. And if you're smart about having to deal with warranty claims, or at least just customer service, if they have to pay for 5,000, 2,000, $10,000 chargers, depending on what you put in your AC charging equipment, you want to make sure that it has some level of being able to withstand an out of spec input. All right, so fast charge contactor weld detection. So that welding is when two metals are stuck together and stay that way. And you don't want your contactors to be welded, because their job is to open and close and remove and add uh, the ability for current to flow. Uh, so they're talking about their weld detection, and that's the end of the document. DC connector dataset. So here they're just going over how their DC connectors are formed. And let's see. So the ones that they have right now are 500 volts DC, 200 amps DC, maximum current 400 amps DC, which is something I always find interesting, because even regular superchargers, not just the ones that are being tested to 900 amps continuous, they tend to go over their 400 amps. Like if you look at my charging history, it sometimes goes over 400 amps. This one was important to me. The insertion and withdrawal force must be less than 90 Newton meters. Sorry, 90 newtons. Sorry. So it has to be a certain level of ease of insertion and removal. And I think this might also say the one that says how much torque the system must withstand. Temperature sensor threshold of 75C, and then they've got a temperature switch, which is different than the temperature sensor, where if it gets too hot, it's kind of like a mechanical thermostat on a fossil radiator. Um, if it gets too far above a different level, it'll just shut everything off as well. So instead of 75C, like for the thermometer, it gets up to 95C and it must cut off. And here they detail the UHF transmitter. It's Silicon Labs SI4010-C2-ATR. So this is what when you push the button on the handle that actually opens up your charge port door. And they have two frequencies depending on where you've deployed it. It's not authorized to use the wrong frequency. So they've got 315 megahertz and a 434 megahertz, and they'll use the correct one. I'm wondering if that's like, because again, this isn't just in North America; it's also in parts of Asia. So I'm wondering if that's where the different frequency comes into play. And again, it's IP67 when it's not connected. It's got a UV resistance of F1 per UL 746 Charlie. That's important because they're out there in the environment, in the sun, in the rain, and uh, last thing you want is for your handles to be just tearing themselves apart because they got a little bit of sun on them. Especially Tesla ones are black, so they got to get all the sun on them. And so that's the AC connector or the DC connector, sorry. And then the AC connector is a lot cheaper and smaller, as we can see here, because these ones don't have to deal with as much current. So, and then they've got model numbers here, so that if you didn't want to build it yourself, you could just buy it from Tesla, which Tesla isn't. Uh, they've made components for other manufacturers several times in the past, so this isn't a foreign concept to them. They're ready. Let's see. So this one is again is practically the same, except that the conductors can be thinner and the pins can be smaller. All right, let's move on. We're just gonna continue to talk about charging, but we're gonna move on from the NACS to something adjacent to that. The EVgo has launched the Tesla Plus promo with an added bonus for CCS adapter users. So EVgo, I believe, is one of the ones that actually is an NACS member, and so you won't be needing the CCS adapter for too much longer. But I don't expect to see these things deployed until after the new year because we've got a bunch of winter holidays coming up. This thing was just announced in the beginning of November, so it's going to take time for any company to jump on board, unless they were part of the pilot, the test to make sure the standard was good. Uh, we suspect that Aptera is going to be the one, maybe not the first, but they're the one in mind to actually deploy on their vehicles, and we'll probably see every charge operator put these handles on their stations. Lance says, I've always struggled with non Tesla stations. Usually two stalls, one is down or both are full. Yeah, that's been my experience as well. Um, Before I was in Charleston for a while, and before Charleston got a supercharger, they had three CCS. Oh, sorry. Well, they are CCS, but three stations that had CHAdeMO, which is what my adapter was, the CHAdeMO adapter. And one of them, uh, it would have problems on its own, and then all of a sudden construction started. They were building a bank or Starbucks or something, and I think it was a bank because there was already a Starbucks. Um, During that construction, the crew would often just shut down the system or cut the line. Like so, I'm on the wrong side of town. The other the three stations were you had one in Mount Pleasant. That was the one that I always had troubles with. You had one in approaching downtown Charleston, and then you had one in Somerville. The one in Somerville, I didn't really need that often because my house is in Somerville, and if I'm coming home, I'm gonna just go home and stay. And so I would charge at 72 amps AC instead of um, 50 kilowatts. Or actually, for me, I've never seen 50 kilowatts on my CHAdeMO adapter. I've only ever seen, I think 38 kilowatts was the fastest I ever saw it take. Still faster than my house, but my house is what uh, not 11. 11 is the basic. I think 22 kilowatts. So I could pay for 30 more kilowatts, or I could just stay home and charge for free because I got solar at home and I've got free supercharging, but that would mean a trip out to Santee at the time. That's an extra hour for no good reason. I really had to need to be keep going to make that trip, and I did it twice. There was a time where I was Ubering the Model S, and that's why I needed those fast charges like that. The Model X has only seen a CHAdeMO maybe 4 times. Once was free. It was at a power co-op. They had a CHAdeMO station in their driveway, and I I just plugged in there, and then my family, we went to go get, um it was a Mexican restaurant, and that was pretty delicious. Alright, so, um, anyway, so EVgo has launched a new promotion exclusively for Tesla owners called the Tesla Plus promo, allowing drivers to utilize any fast chargers in the company's network. There's an added bonus for drivers with the CCS Combo 1 adapter. Oh, so that means I can do it now with my CHAdeMO adapter. When I go to the, let me open up my Tesla app now and see what it says. Go to Tesla, and then I go to service. All right, so at the top of my screen, it says, and this would be easier if I was on my Windows PC because I could just share the screen directly. It says CCS adapter retrofit. I could check vehicle status. I'm gonna click that, and it's gonna say no. Appointments for the CCS Combo One adapter retrofit are currently unavailable. Check back in early 2023 for availability. It's the same thing the website said when we first talked about it on the show when they announced it. And those of you who were paying attention to the reflection of my phone can see why I have a sometimes appear upside down because the camera itself is upside down, and I have a software to flip it back. Uh, the manufacturer never on the version of Mac I have, they never had the ability to flip it. And when I was on the PC the other day, when this Mac was in the shop, they also removed it from the drivers on my PC. So what I ended up doing there was using that terrible camera with it that had the red balance was off because it's not flipped upside down. But oh man, what I probably end up doing is just getting a new, or not new, but just like a mirrorless camera and setting it up on a tripod somewhere, running through the HDMI output. Not that this one's bad. It's just if I'd made another move, that's probably what I would do. So anyway, if you have the CCS combo adapter, you'll automatically qualify for the Tesla Plus promo plan and can sign up by downloading the EVgo app. We'll give Tesla drivers a free 3-month trial of EVgo subscription plan. That's awesome. Offering lower charging rates and free charger reservations, which can be scheduled in the app. New and existing Tesla EVgo customers can sign up. The promotion can sign up for the promotion in the EVgo app. It's valid through December 31st of 2022. So snap to it if you're going to use any third-party charging. Um, Tesla drivers with the CCS1 combo adapter that the company launched in late September can also enroll in EVgo's AutoCharge Plus program for automatic session initiation and billing. So basically, that's plug and charge right there. The Combo One adapter enables charging speeds of up to 250 kilowatts, which is compatible with most Tesla vehicles and now allows owners of S3, X, and Model Y to access high power charging across EVgo's network, which is nice. Like I said, it's much faster than 38 kilowatts. And their pricing is pretty good. But for me, since they say check back in 2023, I can't even, I can sign up for my CHAdeMO adapter and then add on the AutoCharge Plus program, but we'll see. Right now, in the area I'm in, I'm leaving Virginia here. Everything is great for Tesla supercharging. There are way more superchargers than you would need. There's plenty of CCS and a handful of CHAdeMOs, but the supercharging is free for me. So I would have to have no superchargers, or it'd have to be like super clogged for me to want to go pay for another one when this one's free. She asleep? Yeah, she's asleep. Ah, Motoko's asleep. All right, so let's see what Lance says here. Come on, load the chat. All right, while I wait for oh, there it is. I think Tesla should be working with housing developers to offer installation of a supercharger, or at least the prior gen 125 kilowatt superchargers. I would have paid to have that instead of 48 amp wall charge. So your developer had the 48, or you had to plug in your own? Because I've seen a couple of apartments and condos that have like ChargePoint or similar, where you just go, you swipe your badge, and to let you charge. My previous employer had in some of their garages they had a bank of uh, charge points, and that was pretty cool. I had to pay for my install at my own house. Yeah, and so those ones, if they weren't iced, you could use them to charge. Some of them were free. Some of them were. It would look at what you swiped, and it would charge your account or charge your just add it to your rent on your statement. Um, that is good, but like you said, yeah, if they could just have a developer come in and just do it for them, uh, it would be a lot easier because they can just be lazy and then claim, "Hey, we've got an amenity," and yes, they do, but they didn't have to worry about any of the complexity of installing it themselves. And then you've got the opposite side of that where California is mandating that any new construction have, and I don't know if it's all of California yet, but I know certain cities in California are mandating that a certain amount of station of stalls be uh, conduited. They have conduit in the ground or the walls or whatever, so they can more easily install these stations later. And then of those, some if not all of them, some of them also have to have a certain number of active um, stations, which is a good policy because when you don't own the building and the owner doesn't really care, it's a lot harder to make sure that the folks in these buildings can do the right thing, environmentally speaking. Why did Tesla kill the 80 amp wall charger? Do you think? I believe that was the Canadians that did that. Let's look it up real quick. It's the grain of salt because we're just binging stuff. Tesla 80 amp. Uh, all right, so this is taking us to Tesla Motors Club. Let's copy this link and go here so I don't have to change windows. Somebody told me like an electric code in Canada for this. Da, da, da. I have 100 amp, 208-volt circuit, hardwired to Gen 1 charger, feeds 80 amps to my 2013 Tesla for the display. Yeah, my Model S, we were going to put the dual charger in it, and instead we took the money for the dual charger and put it into a down payment on the Model X. So this one can only charge at 72 amps, but the new ones, just like all the Model 3s and stuff, can only charge at 48 amps. But my brand new 22 will only pull 48 amps, no further adjustment evident on the screen above. Any way to get the full 80 amps, or Tesla just figures 48 amps is it. They dropped the 80 amp dual charger some time ago. For a while, you get 72 as an option. That's what I have. In fact, on mine, it was on the way out. You actually had to do a special code to get the 80 amps put back in. For a while, if you had a performance car, they would just automatically do it. And then other people could also put in a special code. And then it was special code only. And then it was gone. My understanding is that 42 amps has been all you can have since the Raven was introduced in 2019. So this 42 amps is if you are plugged into, I think he's got it wrong. 48 amps is what it is. 38 amps is what you get when you use the mobile connector because it's just not built to the same standard as the wall connectors. It's got a little bit thinner gauge cabling all through it, which is a bummer. I installed. Okay, so let's see. Do search on Canada. See? Da, da, da. Single charger capped at 40 amps. That's what I had. Yeah. And that's what I saw yesterday when I tried to set the Gen 2 dial. Anything beyond 8, as the car wouldn't go past 40 amps. Yep. Chargers were discontinued before the 100D was released. Not necessarily. Can't remember when 72 was dropped. It was the end of 18 because I got one of the last ones. My car is such a unicorn. Uh, refresh for the Model S. Yeah, so when the new nose came out on Model S is when they dropped dual chargers. I remember that. Yeah, no Model X's had dual chargers. They all came with the new unit that the S went to. Single charger is capped at 48 amps. Okay, so maybe does this one explain the Canada one? We'll go back and find it. I'm just super curious. Da, da, da. Da, da, da. A little bit longer, and then I'm gonna switch back on to looking at what's current. But I read it and somebody quoted it, and it looked good, but that was a while ago. Want to get a second 80 amp wall charger? I see some longer available. Typical advances usually means things get stronger, faster, and more powerful. Yes, you would think so. With the availability of 400 amp house feeds, having the latest chargers exceed 100 amps wouldn't have surprised me. Surprised they dropped to 48. It wasn't just they were cheaper though. What happened is all Tesla vehicles have a max level 2 charge rate of 48 amps. This requires a 60 amp circuit. There's not a preponderance of 400 amp home feeds. This is true, but 200 amps are quite normal nowadays. Um, Quite the opposite in CA. The average new home is 200 amps. Most old homes are less than that. Anything more than 60 amps require a different setup in electrical codes. Since no Tesla has more than 48 amps, they made a new wall connector that only supports that, which sucks. I mean, not that the thing sucks, but that they no longer support the old ones. There's still plenty of them out there. Saying that, however, I like the Gen 2 one much better myself and found someone selling it new in box. It cost me more than buying a Gen 3. All right, so let's see. Uh, I'll call out Canada there. Try. I want to phrase this search. I don't even think it's. I think it's the cable. I gotta go past page 3 of the search. Search though. Reddit might work. You didn't mean to sidetrack the discussion. That's fine. I looked into buying the Gen 2 as it ran 4 gauge wires to my charge post, but it sounds like I'm software limited to 48 amps. Um, what year is your car? And which one is it? Like SX3Y, performance or standard? The Ford still charges at 80 amps because the Ford Lightning can run your house backwards at 80. Let's see what Reddit says here. Where did it go? There it is. It's here. So you have a 2016 Model X 75D. So, there's two possibilities with yours. It may be software limited, like you said, to 48 amps, or the X's have like mine have a 3 board um, charger. So like if you open up the charger, there are 3 boards. Yours may only have 2 boards. Mine has 3, and the the one sold in Europe where they could get 3-phase power, they have 3 boards as well, but everybody else has just 2 boards. Except for like I said, if yours is in the right range, they might have just software disabled the 3rd board. Now they were doing that for a while, and then they realized they could just save the money and not put it in there at all. Da, 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 da. I don't want to search the chat. I want to search the. All right, so I'll if I come across it again, I'll put up on the YouTube updates page for the channel. I'll put what the Canadian standard was that blocked it. But now I am kind of curious. All right, so we're gonna open up a new tab and we're gonna go to What? Oh, I see what happened. I clicked the Twitter link and it opened up um, in the Twitter for Mac app, which is not what I want. And that could have been upsetting for me if it cleared out all of my notifications. All right, so we'll share this tab instead. In other big news, the single stack FSD beta is out now at 11:11 p.m. specific on 11 November. So 11:11 at 11:11, version 11 launched to select few. Uh, so Elon's doing his Twitter thing, and it's just a dumpster fire. Um, Elon, I'm having fun on Twitter, but I'm not. But you're not answering our FSD beta questions. Is it true that FSD beta 11 is coming next week? Will it be single stack? And he didn't answer the question. He said that it's out, and the cool stuff that it's 11:11, and he says, "What already to employee single stack? Actually, Smart Summon, which people are calling ASS, and F yeah, what a great surprise! Current version has already been amazing. Tesla FSD update season at the DMV." So what we did later find out is this is single stack, and it is starting with employees. And Elon said it's so big that they're going to roll it out even slower than they usually do. So kind of like we saw when the 69 update rolled out, where it took several weeks to get it out to everybody, not just 2 weeks. He said several weeks. That's bad when Elon says several weeks. Yours does not charge over 135 kilowatts, even at 250 stations. So I have no complaints. So mine maximum charge rate, just like Teslucky, is in the 170s with my P100D. Um, but what I'm understanding is that the 75D does charge better than a 90D for a lot of people, which is amazing to me. But I think it goes down to the different structure and cell chemistry, because the 75 is just a 100 missing some cells, whereas a 90 is the older tech, like it's an 85 with extras crammed into it. And my 90, man, that was my second high voltage pack to change over. I had one in the Civic Hybrid, and I had one in the Model S, which was the 90D. Yeah, excuse me. So that's very exciting if you're in the FSD beta, or if you have everything you need to be in the beta, and you've pushed sign me up, and you've been sitting there with a perfect safety score. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but a really good safety score. Eventually, you should expect to see this beta. Another thing that came out with it is this is the first time in quite a few months where, um, maybe over a year, where the FSD beta program firmware is on the same branch as the um, production release firmware. So we're going to be going from like .36 to .40. So you're going to see a lot more features on your car than you've seen in a while if you've been in the beta program for several months, which is always a plus. You open up the car and you just get new stuff. It's like Christmas. All right, let's see. Uh, got this one from Reddit. I think I can click these. I just can't click on anything from Twitter. Yes, I can. This one's from Twitter. uh, Copy link and share this tab instead. All right, so my Starlinks are in a box because we're getting ready to move. Last week we were talking about Starlink, and I pointed out how Australia had been like there's like a little scoop out of Australia where it was all lit up, and shortly after that, the rest of Australia got lit up for availability for Starlink, and I thought that was awesome. So this is that little spot, just like we have in the U.S. Over the West Virginia area, and in Australia, it is definitely a quiet zone. It's been confirmed to be the radio silent zone for radio telescope observation, that sort of thing, and so that's why it is so large and visible from space. And I'm wondering, like I said, if that is what that is for us in West Virginia. So while we're looking at this, let's go to starlink.com, apps. See, there we go. Australia is bright blue. And that band here still exists, and we were suggesting that it might have been a limitation of between the laser links as well as the ability for them to actually put a spot on you. What was confusing to some people is as you zoom in, you've got some of these areas that are reachable in these bands, and I'm wondering if that's just a case of they can guarantee enough satellite coverage there that they could turn these spots on because that's kind of how the whole world or US looked when it first came out. They had these little spots, it was like polka dotty, and so that's not that weird to me. But you have some outliers that where it works. What else was surprising here? They turned something else on with the laser links. All of Japan. I don't remember if all of Japan was done when we were there last week. Not we in Japan, but we as a show. We're looking at this map. All right, so that was that one. Let's take a look. What have I got a tweet for? Ah, yes. So this one was an interesting speculation. So Frederick here points out that his take is that they are stockpiling because there will be a gas shortage in the winter, and the casting needs gas to melt the alloy. So assuming that the Tesla furnaces and forges and smelters are not electric powered, they're suspecting that. I'll explain what I'm talking about in just a moment. I'm starting at the back. I'm sorry. Uh, this is what we're about to talk about is the Berlin Gigafactory, and if Frederick's right, these things aren't electrically powered, then going into the winter with the current situation with Russia aggressing in Ukraine there, and everybody not being able to get their gas for various reasons because we don't want to, because the pipeline blew up, because they're sanctioned, et cetera, et cetera. That whatever gas does become available is going to be needed for heating, and I thought that was a pretty nice theory, assuming that these things aren't electrically powered. And so here we go. So Tesserati says Giga Berlin fills with rear megacast as optimizations continue. Let's go to their article here and check it out. What we see here is a parking lot full of Model 3 rear ends. Look at that. As far as the eye can see. I guess not as far as the eye can see because we can see all this. But that's a lot of Model Y rear castings right there, for sure. My little monitor got off of live. It was several minutes behind. Um, so this is again coming from our drone army, not our like me, but our like just the EV fanatics. So here we can see them loading up some cars, and then as he went around the side, he got some more pictures, and then he found those rear castings. Probably stocking up for the winter when the gas may be shut off for a few weeks at a time. There's another person who agrees with that. Um, they do it in every factory, even Texas, which is practically a gas giant. Well, a giant gas well. It's likely to offset any major downtime on the casting machines, maintenance, die issues, etc. Just typical Tesla genius at work. Design the parts to be balanced enough to stand on one end. Use an alloy which is impervious to the elements. Boom! They don't even need to bother warehousing half the car. Well, it'll be more than half when the front castings start piling up. Good point. Designing parts with storage and stacking in mind is very common. Tesla's done some things that are genius, but that isn't one of them. What? This is genius, but they're not genius. Oh, okay. No one else is just leaving their parts out in the elements, of which many there in German winters. Yeah, yeah. My first comment didn't address the corrosion in elements. Second, what's your source for believing no one else stores outside? This is true. There are stuff that's stored outside currently. Anyway, let's get out of that internet sniping and let's go on to. I said last one was a tweet. So then there was a recall, a software recall on my car and others. Mine didn't qualify because I was in FSD beta, and so I never hit the I never hit the current version, so it didn't ever affect me. Um, So this is nhtsa.gov, and I had to do some gymnastics to get around their URL tracking and that they send out in their emails. But I was successful. Loss of power steering can require greater effort, especially at low speeds, increasing the risk of a crash. So let me start out by saying that not only was this a software recall, um, by the time the reporting happened, 100% of the cars that might have been affected had been repaired because they had a software update that undid the other software update. We need a new term and we need a new system for this. I mean, yes, I do want to know that this flaw existed, but I don't want Chicken Little. This guy is falling. Why are you driving that thing? It's a death trap. Blah blah blah. Oh, don't you care about your family? Yeah, I do. That's why we're driving this thing. Uh, I do want to know that this occurred, but I don't. I don't need them to mail me a letter. I don't need the kind of email that this is. Maybe an email saying, "Hey, this thing happened and it's resolved." Hey, okay, cool. Or like a monthly summary, like a quarterly summary, whatever. Hey, these number of things happened and we're already fixed before we even let you know about them. So okay. But do let me know. Hey, they do email me about every tire that fits my car because they don't know what I put on the car, and then they also let me know for stuff that is actually active. Like when been a while. I had the airbags on the Model S. I had that was about it. The airbags on the Model S. I get told I'm driving a rolling house fire about once a month. Yeah, and it's amazing that like we never see we see the car fires but we never see them reported. We never see them followed up on in the fossils. Where they happen all the time. Hold on one second. Baby's crying. Wife is not here. Be right back. Oh, Monto! Say hi, everybody. How was your nap? Did you have a good nap? Yeah. You want your toy? Brush your tooth? No. Hmm? Here, hold this. There you go. Okay. Yeah. So let's look further into this thing that's going on. All right. So this is NHTSA campaign 22 Victor 81800. Manufacturer Tesla. Components steering. Potential number of units affected 40,168. Tesla Inc. is recalling certain 2017 to 2021 Model S and Model X vehicles. The electronic power assist steering system, APAS, may experience loss of power steering assist when driving on rough roads or after hitting a pothole. The remedy: Tesla has released an over the air software update to recalibrate the EPAS system free of charge. Owner notification letters are expected to be mailed December 31st of 2022. So literally just killing trees for nothing. I'm going to get a letter for a software that never affected me, but did affect my model, and that was already fixed long before. And like everybody has installed this, I think is what the statement was. Uh, that's why I'm saying that this I do want to know, but I don't need it in the mail. And come on, guys, do better. And I'm not mad at Tesla for following the law. We need to make this a little more efficient. Like, let me know before you do the software update, and say, "Hey, software update's coming," which is usually how it goes. But this one's already been fixed. Yes, sweetie. Hmm? Boop, be-doo, boop. You love it. Oh, stay with the glasses, please. Yes. Oh, now I've got a fingerprint on my glasses. All right. So owners may contact NHTSA at the safety hotline. 10 affected products, Model S and Model X 2017 to 2021, and Tesla Model X 2017 to 2021. So legacy cars, essentially. We've got 3 associated documents. We've got all these PDFs. They got the remedy instructions, the recall acknowledgement, and the defect notice. Let's take a quick breeze through all of these. Do they open a new Windows or do they open as downloads? New Windows, of course. So we'll share this tab instead. Um, Powertrain, doesn't matter. Potentially affected vehicles, 40,168. Estimated percentage with defect, 1%. Because not everybody gets the updates at the same time, for reasons such as this. I got the company phone number. That's nice to know. The subject population includes certain model year 17 to 21 Model S and X. Affected vehicles are identified based on vehicle manufacturing, service, and firmware deployment records. From August 16th of 2017 to December 28th of 2020 are the production dates. VIN range, begin and end. There's no record for a reason, because this wasn't a physical defect. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I thought so. Tick, 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 tick. What's that for?
Shell.
Oh, you sold it yourselves?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, mommy's selling all kinds of stuff. The less stuff we have, the less stuff we move. um, yes. So the subject population includes these vehicles, and um, firmware release 2022.36 changed calibration values for electronic power steering assist. In rare case, actually, that might affect me. I think I'm on 36 now, but it depends on which version. If it was 36 vanilla, I never got that. Or if I did, that was one where they didn't keep me for weeks on end on an old version of FSD beta. I'll have to look at that further. In fact, we can because I've got a monitor on my car, we can check it. Um, well, don't joke. All right, so potholes, blah blah blah. You lose power steering or reduce upon experiencing reduce. Why are you punching me in the throat, child? She's not going to punch you in the throat. Upon experiencing reduced or lost power steering assist, an audio alert will trigger and a visual alert will appear on the instrument cluster. Hey, power steering has failed. Vehicle firmware between 2022.36 and 2022.36.4. Um, and then they tell you about who they are. On October 11th of 2022, Tesla began broadly rolling out firmware release 2022.36 to the vehicle fleet, which included updated calibration values for the electronic power assist steering system to better detect unexpected steering assist torque. So what that is, two things really. One, if the car just suddenly veers off without you telling it to steer, you might want to address that. And so that's what they were doing here, but it wasn't set right. So it thought that you hitting a pothole or a bumpy road might have meant that what was occurring was the car steering without you telling it to, and so they turned off the power steering. I could see why you would do that if it was the correct response, like if it really did happen. But yeah, if you hit a pothole, you don't want to lose power steering, especially since the auto drive doesn't always avoid potholes. In fact, for a while, it didn't even attempt to. Actually, I think it still doesn't. But what it does attempt to do is avoid debris on the road and carcasses. So beginning on October 18th, Tesla identified an increasing rate of alerts related to the EPAS system on certain 17 to 2021 S and X. And on October 19th, they began deploying firmware release 2022.36.5 to the vehicle fleet, which reverted the calibration values for EPS to pre-2022.36 values, while engineering assessed potential root causes and evaluated the condition. So October 11th to October 19th. This is Tesla speed right here. It's like boom, boom, boom. And not to say that the others don't go fast. We've seen this time and again as we talk about various recalls here on the show. But usually we're talking like a couple weeks, not a week. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. On October 25th, based on the risk assessment, Tesla made the determination to voluntarily recall the affected vehicles. So what this means is that they met certain criteria and they decided to go through this rigmarole, which again is the right thing to do. They're following the law, but there needs to be a newer, better way to handle these software issues. We saw one the other day with the Ford, and it was like literally Ford's going to send you a software update. You don't need to do anything but push install. Come on now. Now, if you had to take it into the dealer to get that software update, which we saw with Porsche and several others, that's a straight up recall. But we need better terminology. As of November 1st, 2022, Tesla identified 314 vehicle alerts for this condition among US vehicles received between October 11th and November 1st that are related or may be related to this condition. Tesla is not aware of any injuries or deaths related to this condition. Always good. Oh, you bebopping, baby? Rock on. Yeah. Ah. All right, so description of the remedy. Firmware release 2022.36.5 and later firmware releases revert the calibration values for EPAS. As described above, firmware release 2022.36.5 began deploying to affected vehicles on October 19th. As of November 1st, more than 97% of affected vehicles installed firmware release 2022.36.5 or later firmware release. No further action is necessary from owners whose vehicles are equipped with firmware release 2022.36.5 or later firmware release. Tesla does not plan to include a statement in the Part 577 owner notification about pre-notice reimbursement. Yeah, why are you going to reimburse it if it's already fixed? If it's not patched, that's your fault for not pushing install now. And the car will kind of try to schedule it for you once it's been sitting there for a while. And this is the kind of like if there's a recall, you don't need to be on Wi-Fi for that. Tesla tends to push that over cellular. The question is, what is going to happen now that standard connectivity is no longer standard? For those folks who have older cars that are out of warranty, this is not a thing yet. This is something that will happen in the future, um, several years from now. When those folks don't have a data connection, how are they going to get these out of band recalls? Are they going to turn your connection on, update your car, and then turn it back off, or will it still be on, collecting data for Tesla but giving you nothing in return? Which should also be kind of fair because then the connection is already open for stuff like this. Yeah. Oh, I don't have any food in my mouth. Like when she grabs you by both cheeks like this and starts looking you in the eye, she's looking for food to steal from you. Ah. Ugh. Yeah, kisses. All right, so yeah, so it reverts the firmware, and um, they're not going to do the reimbursement notification because there's nothing to reimburse. Um, since all the affected vehicles have already received the remedy free of charge, that's why we're not going to pay you for it. Um, and then how this remedy component differs from recalled component. So they just put the calibration values back. Yeah, done. Tesla stores and service centers will be notified about this recall on or shortly after November 3rd, 2022. Owner notification letters will be mailed in accordance with. So this one does make sense to me. Yes, you do need to let the service centers know because if somebody rolls in with old firmware and they tell you don't update my car, they're out there. Tesla then also needs to then be able to warn them and say, hey, you're driving around a car that is not supported, and if somebody gets injured, you're fully liable. Fully, because you're driving around a car with a known defect. That's on you. In fact, I don't even know if they can avoid not updating it at that point either. Depends on how the laws are worded, where each shop is located. This is federal, so it might not matter which shop. All right, so part 573 safety recall report, December 31st, 2022, December 31st, 2022. Oh, because they didn't do it, they just left it blank. That makes sense. Um, there. So next up, let's go. I'm gonna open up a new tab and I'm gonna go look at my um. Well, which one was this? There's two more PDFs. Let's look at them first. Okay, okay. Yeah, we'll look at these. Mr. David Kim from Tesla. Also powering assist. Dear Mr. Kim, Uh, this letter serves to acknowledge that Tesla Inc.'s notification to the NHTSA safety recall notice will be conducted pursuant to federal law for the products listed below. Please review the following information to ensure that it conforms to your records, as this information is being made available to the public. If the information does not agree with your records, please contact us immediately to discuss your concerns. So, I mean, like I'm saying, this is all just them following the law, which is what you want them to see. Yes. Don't eat my headphone cord. She said, looks at me in the eye and says, "What you gonna do about it?" I'm gonna take it out your mouth. That's what I'm gonna do. Ah, thanks for the slaps in the ear. Ah. So it's telling them what they have to do legally, and then one more PDF. These are the remedies and instructions. So this is what Tesla has sent to the service centers. Tesla Service Bulletin SB 2022 or sorry 22.00-14. That sounds like they haven't been too many of these, have there? It's number 14 for the year. On November 4th, update vehicle firmware to correct ePass software. The classification is a recall bulletin rather than a technical service bulletin or a any of the various lower levels of complaints that could be issued. Um, the section group is just an inspection and service. Mobile service can perform this where permitted, of course, because you're installing an update. Configuration is all 2017 through 2021 Model S and X. Region: North America, Europe, Australia, Hong Kong, South Korea, Macau, New Zealand, and Taiwan. All built at Fremont, which makes sense because S and X are only built at Fremont worldwide at the moment. Yeah. Then they go on to explain again what we saw earlier in the recall report. The correction is this is a correction for the technician to perform is to inspect the vehicle firmware version and, if necessary, update the vehicle firmware to version 2022.36.5 or later. Punch me in the throat again. Thank you. Uh, inspect the vehicle firmware version, and no update necessary is correction. This one here, number 14. You can charge 0.05 in labor, or you can inspect and update the vehicle firmware to correct the ePass software, which is the same correction number. No, it's not. There's a 1 for no correction and a 2 for correction. But other than that, they're the same number. Same charge, 0.05. Procedure to tell you how to do a software update as a technician. If the vehicle's operating the right version, no further action is necessary. You're going to check in the vehicle icon, the controls menu, basically. Scroll down to display to the vehicle firmware version. And what are you doing to my ear, Joe? If the vehicle's operating with a firmware version before it's 2022.36.5, update to version 2022.36.5 or later. Refer to the service manual procedure for S and X. Use correction code, the one starting with a 2. Well, the one that starts with a 2 that's different anyway, I should say. There we go. So that's how Tesla would handle it. And now let's go take a look and see about my firmware updates. I've got 2 pieces of software that are constantly looking at my car. One is called Teslafy, and the other is called Tesla Scope. I don't care about the fleet software right now. Actually, I kind of do. There are 102 cars. Let's do this. Share this tab instead. There are 102 cars that have downloaded 2022.40.1, which is the one of these is the FSD beta, the other is the regular update. 40.4.1 and 40.4. Yeah? No, none of these are. Because what it is the FSD beta is on the same branch now, also .40, as the public. Oh, this guy's just got it's European version. Just got the ah, got a map update for EU 2021.8, but its software version is FSD Beta 10.69.2.2 in Budapest, Hungary. Interesting. So what I was actually looking for was uh, my software updates. All right, so I'm currently on version 10.69.2.4, which is yeah. So I'm not even in the 30s yet. So what I think it ah is the folks on the next version up got the 36, not me. So I never actually even saw it because from October 11th they said. Yeah, you too. September. So just a few days before in October, I got 2020.20.18, which was FD beta 10.69.2.3. You can't get them off my ears, baby. I'm using them. Oh, my glasses. And then at the beginning of November, I got 2022.20.19, which was FSD beta 10.69.2.4. Wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. You want to jump? Jump. Jump. All right, moving on. We've got the recall is done, and now we've got this video from Zoom. Time for a quick sync later. Oh, I need to mute this. Let's take a look. She pulls up in her Model Y, plugs into a destination or a urban supercharger. Ready to hop on a call? Yeah, let's do it. And then she gets into her car and she opens the Zoom app. Oh my goodness, Zoom, join. And now she's zooming from her driver's seat using the in-car camera. What I'm hoping is that us folks with legacy cars or people who are driving can do an audio-only experience, because that would be really cool. Zoom and Tesla. All right, you can't walk off the edge of the chair. There's a desk there. You'll bust your chin. Well, it doesn't mean try it. You dancing? That's fine. You can dance all you want. All right, I need a finger, please. Give me a finger. You gonna use the mouse with me? We can do that. All right, so I thought that was pretty cool. That says that they need to address some of the. Let me turn off this stream. It's distracting. They need to address some of the intermittent issues between software updates. Frequently, my key fob won't load my profile, and Bluetooth will error and then be fine after a reset. Yeah. I get told that my battery is low, even though it's not on the key fob. Let's see what else we got. All right, so this is a Twitter, so I need to copy and paste. I could uninstall the Mac Twitter app, but then I wouldn't get any more notifications. There we go. So Tesla released an over-the-air software update to recalibrate the ePass. Yeah, we talked about that. And Brian says, yes, it's already fixed. Yep. I guess that's just the order I found them in the notes. All right, so here's some not so good news. The 2023 Kia EV6 base price is now $49,795, which is $7,000 increased over 2022, which is unfortunate. Kia is dropping the base light trim level of the popular EV6 for 2023, resulting in a new base model for its wind trim level, plus $1,295 destination charge. This is a $1,000 increase for the wind trim level, but with the new absence of the light trim level, this means the EV6 is now $7,100 more than 2022's EV6, which is not the way you want to see it go as a consumer, as an EV advocate, as somebody who's interested in affordable cars, because not everybody can afford premium, luxury, or just really nice cars. Like, I'm not saying that inexpensive cars can't be nice, but what do you call these cars that don't have all the buttons, switches, acres of leather, etc.? Are they premium? Are they luxury? What are they? They're nice. They're expensive. They don't need to be. I mean, I'm not saying you can make those cars cheaper, but I'm saying that there needs to be affordable cars, and this is a step in the wrong direction, unfortunately. And I know that Kia's got reasons. It's hard to get parts. Batteries are expensive. What did I just click on? What did I just click on? Um, I meant to scroll down with the space bar. Another problem for Kia is its change in the EV tax credits. With the Inflation Reduction Act, cars that are assembled outside of North America, such as all of Kia's EVs, are no longer qualifying as U.S. federal EV tax credit as of August. When Kia starts building its EVs in the U.S. in 2024, they'll potentially be eligible once again for these credits, but for the next year or two, they are left out in the cold. So um, there's a problem with that is if you are going to eat the cost yourself for your customers, as we saw with some of the manufacturers announcing they were going to do, making your car more expensive means that you're going to eat more costs, unless your plan is to make the car not qualify, so you have less, less rebates you got to shell out for. Yes, sweetie. You want this back? Moto, Moto, go. Did you wake up too early? It sounds like you need a nap. All right, move on to the next one. We've got this one from Deutsche Telekom, which is aka T-Mobile, Germany. Is going to buy 100% electric company cars from 2023. It's a good move. Uh, T-Mobile is quite focused on taking climate action, which, and again, in this case, we're talking the German T-Mobile, the parent company, the big one, not the number 3 carrier in the U.S. here. But they own this U.S. T-Mobile, so uh, they plan to double their energy efficiency gains by 2024 and achieve climate neutrality within its own business operations in 2025. It intends to achieve climate neutrality across the whole value chain by 2024. There we go. Here in Sweden, the new government removed the green car bonus. Huh. So does that mean they met their goals, or did they bow to political pressure from Luddites? Or do you guys have so many electric cars that they are losing revenue and they need that revenue back? I'm curious. I was watching a video on Apple TV where another Anders built himself a house inside of a greenhouse. That was pretty cool. Why are you eating my? Well, at least you're not biting it. I'll leave you to it. All right, Autoblog. Autoblog tells us about how the 2024 Audi Q8 e-tron has been revealed as the e-tron refresh with more range and new styling. Of course, it doesn't taste good. It's a headphone cord. Do you want a snack? Are you hungry? Are you hungry? Hungry? You want milk? You want milk? No? Okay. No, I want this headphone cord. That's on you. Ah, why are you pulling on my ear? All right, so anyway, let's take a look at this e-tron. I think that looks a little bit better than what they had before. It also makes it a little bit harder to tell from the gas car, except for the um, charge port door there. And yeah, these are the same side of the car. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Mm. All right, so let's see what else they did other than change the way it looks. Doesn't look bad. The wheels are a little cooler looking. Probably less efficient. Those ones look pretty efficient, but the bigger ones not so much. All right, so there it is charging. I don't like it when I can't use the arrow key. Ah, but spacebar works. That's fine. Not a bad looking car. I don't know about that grill. I kinda like open it all the way or close it all the way. This like half-formed Chinese knockoff cheese grater is less than appealing when you see it this close here. Yes, you can tell me secrets. Uh, e-tron Quattro Q8. Okay, so the interior is it's an Audi. So some people consider this to be a luxury car. Some people consider it to be premium. I don't know how you tell the difference. Like I said, acres of leather. That was a weird one right there. They took a picture through the window, the closed window, on their official photos. See the reflection there? That's super weird. Unless they're trying to show you the camera mirror, which is there. Mm, and there the window is down. Why do you still have a start-stop button on an EV? I get it on a hybrid or a gas car, anything you can poison yourself, but come on. I like the VW ID4, ID3 way of doing it, where they've got the crank thing where the key would have been on the initial like on the column, but you don't have to use it. You can just push the brake and you can just open the door and get out. Whereas if you want to turn the car off, you can do it. If you want to turn it on, you can do it, but you don't have to. It's putting the foot on the brake and shifting out of park that turns it on, just like it is on the Tesla and several others. That's enough of that. Let's see what they changed. They said they got more range. They said they got more range. See here. It's been 4 years. That's fine. A lot of companies change every 4, 5, or 6 years. That's right in line. All right, so here we go. Here's some ranges. They now have instead of a 95 kilowatt hour pack, they have a 114 kilowatt hour pack. It takes up the same physical space in the car, but uses a new stacking technology to stack the cells in the pack, filling it more. So one thing we can count on is about a 5% increase in battery capacity every year. So this is kind of right in line with that. Oh, you look me in the eye, smiled, and you yank my ear. Look at you, child. Give me that. She's like, you got it in my mouth, but I got you by the hand. Um, so we've seen that on some of the Teslas. We've seen that on a bunch of the competitors. Just like every year, they get a little tiny spec bump. Others, like this e-tron, they kind of waited a little while and just did it all at once, which is their typical MO. Da, 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 da. Audi doesn't have EPA range ratings to share with us yet, but representatives hinted that the number would be over 300 miles. For now, we have WLTP ranges to look at. The regular EQ8 e-tron is rated at 362 miles, and the Sportback at 373. Again, as they point out here, the WLTP is typically optimistic. We expect the Sportback to slightly outpace the regular shaped Q8 e-tron here in America too. Cool. Sleepy? Look at that. The big yawn. Big yawn. You want to go sleep? Yeah. All right. So let's see. 3 electric motors. That's new. 2 in the rear. So plaid style. But Dad's that. Yeah, that's me. Give it the sword. So last week she started saying mom, 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 but that was breast milk, not my wife. Says dad, dad, daddy. Is that daddy? Yeah, I like that smile. It's so cute. You did it on air for everybody to hear. Look at you. So we got your first recorded. Isn't that sweet? Mm. But oh, really? Hmm. So I like that they've gone the plaid style triple motor I'm a little bit disappointed that they are nowhere near the 1020 horsepower of the Model S Plaid and Model X Plaid. Yeah? You beating on my earphones? Oh, okay. Design and styling changes accompany the all-new tech. That's kinda cool. So, if you were into the Audis, this is a solid new choice coming up for you. This is obviously not imminent until they get those EPA ratings, because you need those EPA ratings, well, not the ratings, but you need the EPA certificate to be able to sell the thing. How did you get that in your mouth so fast? Ah, I got your nose. All right, you turn red and get down. You good? You're pale again. Ready? Wah! Wah! Here we go. All right. All right. So Anders says that according to the government, the decision is taken as a climate bonus car is currently considered expensive to own and expensive to drive as a diesel or petrol car. Isn't then the whole point to incentivize them to do the right thing by making it more affordable? At least I would think so. All right, let me reset my video. I'm running at 2 frames a second here. Uh, What if I change camera? All right, that turns off the camera. I change back. When I do that, okay, so it's the software running slow. Let me restart the software and turn it back on. Okay. They've started remembering my setting more often. All right, there we go. Turn my video back on. There we go. Uh, State market introduction support is therefore no longer justified. So are they saying that it achieved the goal, or are they saying that it went the wrong way and they no longer want to support that? 'Cause I would think, unless it was a loss of revenue, you'd want to continue to push them to do the right thing. And it's not like the local automakers don't make EVs. Baby, baby, baby. I know you're tired. I know you're tired. Mommy's busy. Mhm, mhm. Any better? Let's rock. Let's rock. All right, we're rocking. All right, let's see what's next. This one's from Tasmanian, and Giga Shanghai exports are up 34% year over year to a record high of 54,504 in October. They won't support it because it's expensive. That's kind of backwards, isn't it, Anders? Because like, if the whole problem is they're expensive, then support it and make them cheaper. Unless they're trying to force the automakers to make cheaper cars, like we see um, Ford and Tesla and several others do in other countries, where they make a decontented model that costs less. Why'd you lick your hands and then try to put it on my nose? So, despite all the breathless reports we saw during earnings reports about, or not earnings reports, DMV reports about how few were produced in China, um, it was right after a record month, and for the quarter they still did pretty darn good. Let's get a little closer to Anders. Let's go to Norway. Norway plug-in sales returned to growth in October of 2022. All electric car sales were up 20% year over year, but plug-in hybrids are collapsing, which makes sense. Oh, the system is too expensive for Sweden. Okay, that makes sense. If they can't afford to do it, then I get it. I get it. Though I wonder why they won't do it in such a way, except that it's not fair to everybody. Do it in such a way like Canada, the U.S., and a couple others do, where it's first come, first serve, and when the money's out, the money's out. I guess if it gets to a point where you have to reduce the program benefit to everybody, and you reduce it too far, then then why bother? Hmm. That's not permission to take my headphone cord. You want your toy? All right, let's see. So 12,588 cars were registered, up 8.5%, which brought the up-to-date number to 115,319. Good news also comes to the plug-in segment, which noted a slight increase after 6 months of noticeable drops. Last month, 10,853 passenger plugins were registered, which is 5% more than a year ago. Not bad. Market share decreased from 86.4 to 89.3 a year ago. So what probably is happening here is now that part supply is returning to normal, uh, the gas cars are probably going back down in price. Oh my eye. Plug-in results could be better, but plug-in hybrid cars have been dragging the segment down each month this year. Yeah, because they were a significant portion. But aside from the training wheels cars, do they actually achieve the goals? Now they do for anybody who uses them locally as a plug-in, but you do also have to worry about the folks who just never plug it in. Then it needs to be a really efficient hybrid, which not all of them are. I don't want you to have headphones. Is there anything else I can offer you? No. What else can I offer you other than headphones? Milk? Would you like milk? Milk doesn't come from my mouth. How about this? Do you want your bee? I've got your bee right here. Yeah. Hit him. Hit him instead of me. All right, so that's enough of plug-in hybrids and hybrids electrics in Norway. Let's go to Sweden and China with the Volvo EX90. Um, the electric SUV is the safest vehicle Volvo has ever produced. I must say it's pretty good looking too from this angle. Let's see the rest of it. During a global live stream event in Sweden today, Volvo Cars has officially unveiled the upcoming EX90 SUV, sharing a myriad. Sharing, I don't think it's a myriad. I think it's a myriad. Sharing myriad safety features, safety technologies, and sustainable materials. But I'm not the one who keeps throwing him. If you stop throwing him, he'll stop being on the ground. Do you need teething pills? How about this one? This one's softer. Yeah, I think you like it better on your single tooth. Here. All right, so let's take a look at some pictures of the EX90. Let's see, it's using trusted components from Google and NVIDIA, and it's got LiDAR built into its exterior. Again, standard. Oh, that's cool. Standard LiDAR. That means that the price is continuing to drop on LiDAR. Here we can see its unicorn horn. Let's see if in the other pictures we can see where they've hidden the other sensors. So it looks like Polestar and Volvo are doing a Kia and Hyundai, where they are practically the same company still, even though they say they aren't. So here we can see the LiDAR module hides under this fairing. Looks like a solid state LiDAR. That's cool. Okay, so there's one in the, is that the grill or the headlight? Looks like the corner of the headlight. That's cool. Well, if I go put you down, you're gonna cry. Instead of whining. You want the banana now? Here's the banana. Here's the banana. Here. Ah, you threw it. You know who cried? The queen. Bow down to me, servants. Your royal queen decrees. You want mom? Mom? See? Mum.
Mom.
Are you British? Mum? Ah. All right. All right. Miss Wiggles has gone off to enjoy the spoils of her lunchtime, I guess. Let's continue. She got a mum on camera too. All right. So it's got a frunk. Yay. I like the way this looks. I've always had a, huh? Oh, okay. I thought I heard something. I've always had a thing for the way the Volvos look ever since like the '80s square bodies with the round logo with the seatbelt thing on the logo on the wheel covers, or I guess hubcaps, really the ones that covered the center lug nuts and everything. So I'm kind of partial to the look of Volvo. All right. Yeah, so the LiDAR is in the headlight area. That's kind of cool. The interior looks nice and clean, unlike that Audi where it was buttons everywhere. If that's your thing, then you can get an Audi with all the buttons. If you're more of this minimalist European style, then you can get the Volvo or the Tesla. Those seats look comfortable, man. Ooh, they look comfortable. All right, 2 screens. Looks like they're talking about their audio system there. 14.5-inch center screen with Google and 5G. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. All right. Looks like, is that the Matrix headlight or is that just a graphic? Well, there we go. Interesting how many EVs have moved towards large. I was just telling my wife about this the other day. How many EVs have moved towards a large screen tablet interface pioneered by Tesla? I've noticed several automakers, Rivian, Fisker, Volvo, and here I believe a few others that have been implementing variations of Tesla's HVAC flow system with one long horizontal strip across the dashboard rather than separate vents. Those wider and still separate manual levers versus Tesla's cleaner look with a thin opening and electronic actuators controlled by the touchscreen. Actually, goes a step further with the Teslas that they aren't even different electronic actuators. They are controlling the air with air. So they have 2 blades of air blowing at each other, and then they manage the X and Y axis with just air, which is really cool. Still nothing about the price. 100K for a Volvo, OMG. Well equipped for under 80, so they say. We'll see. Comments for this thread are now closed. How long has this article been out? A handful of days. So either Electrek has changed their comment policy or something got spicy in there and they had to moderate it. All right, so this is fun. So Dan O'Dowd, serial liar and failed politician, among other things. He laments his rejected Twitter advertisement. So he was trying to buy an ad on Twitter, and he was complaining on Twitter that he couldn't buy an ad on Elon Musk's platform, trashing one of Elon Musk's other companies. I'm not just trashing them, but trashing them baselessly. Um, He claims that he designed and wrote software that never fails and cannot be hacked. Yeah, that's a liar if I've ever heard one. I don't know any other software manufacturer who claims such a thing. Uh, and the ones that do get hacked immediately right after. Like, oh, really? The Green Hills Software CEO has been operating his anti-Tesla campaign through the Dawn Project, an anti-Tesla advocacy group. The Dawn Project has pushed several campaigns, such as ads and videos, calling for Tesla's driver assist system to be banned because Dan hates safety. Um, and why do I say that? Because Tesla, their safety autopilot is always active. In fact, the other day, mine kicked in. All right, was it a pedestrian or a car? I was driving, and it was slightly faster than parking lot speeds. We just left a parking lot, and there were 2 instances, that's why I can't remember. There were 2. So once was a panhandler stepped off the curb, and the car auto braked and spilled all of my wife's french fries from the seat to the floorboard, and then when I tried to reassert, the car had mushy pedal because it thought that I was gonna try and run over the, homeless person, the apparent homeless person. My theory is that the panhandlers around here are very much like the ones in the city I had in Florida where, um, they're professional and they're not actually in need. They hold the sign, they do change shifts, you see them get into their Lexus and drive away, versus some of the other ones I come across where they say they need help and you give them food and they say thank you versus, "Oh, what is this crap?" Uh, um, anyway, so as I tried to go around this individual in the street, after the car did auto braking, I had mushy pedal, which is where the car doesn't respond the way you expect because it's trying to stop you from having a catastrophe. Another situation was somebody was very sloppy in their lane control, and I was telling the car to go forward, and the car was saying, "No, you're going to hit them," and I'm telling, "No, I'm not." Uh, and I got mushy pedal until the car was sure that no, I was not going to hit them, and then I got the lightning pedal returned, and I was able to get full. Not Performance Plus. What do they call that thing? Ludicrous, not Ludicrous Plus. I don't drive in Ludicrous Plus, but I do drive in Ludicrous all the time, and it all came back. I usually only use the first quarter of the pedal because it's just so powerful. Anyway, so that's safety autopilot. That's always operating, and that's why I say that Dan hates safety. Dan claims that Elon Musk's full self-driving will still run over children, and that eventually Tesla's staff and director will be liable for manslaughter. The tweet also included an image of a full-page ad that ran in the New York Times, which led with the words "Don't be a Tesla crash dummy." Twitter declined to promote Odad's anti-Tesla FSD tweet, which is kind of what Elon said he was going to do, um, about being arbiter of free speech and blah blah blah. No lying in the media. I guess it's a little easier to do when it's your own company, but we'll see how that plays out with the rest of them as Elon and crew get their sea legs. So Dan claims that there's this full page ad says that FSD will run over children 3 months old, run over children 3 months after they reported it. Um, 93% agree it should be banned. Whoever those 93% are. Eventually, this becomes manslaughter. Yeah, if you are driving a car and you don't pay attention to what it's doing and you run people over, yes, that's manslaughter. But that's not Tesla's fault. That is the driver's fault. Tesla staff, unless for some reason the car overrides you, which so far it physically cannot do because the brake pedal cuts the power to the computer. In fact, you can try this yourself. Let the car do something stupid, or even just let it drive down the road, and you smush the brake pretty hard. You can actually hear the relays turning on and off in your glove box, because when you push the brake pedal down, it cut the power. All right, so I didn't even finish reading O'Dowd's garbage. His tweet about the topic has not been taken down by Twitter. Uh, However, he complained that since the post cannot be promoted on the social media platform, its engagement will be limited. Yeah, no stuff. In a statement to the publication, O'Dowd noted that Twitter's rejection raises serious questions about Musk's commitment to free speech. Does it? The move to prohibit the advertising of content criticizing Musk's full self-driving software raises serious questions over his commitment to free speech. So I've been on Twitter since Musk took over, and I see plenty of complaints about the stuff that's just fully up and running. Elon's done nothing about it, but I can see not letting him. Why he won't let you pay him to smear him? It's logical to me. And I'm no like fanboy over. He's said a bunch of stupid stuff in the last couple months, and I've called him out several times on it. But he's still, an empathetic human being. He still makes some of the right moves, and this is not one of those cases where he's messed up. So go pound sand, Dan. Dan O'Dowd, of course, not our Dan, the co-host. Our Dan, the co-host, cool people. So uh, you'll never see me talk about you like that here. But this guy's a jerk. Anyway, Musk seemingly considered O'Dowd as a nuisance for the most part. Tesla has pursued more serious efforts against Green Hill Software in the past. In August, following the Dawn Project's effort to push the narrative that Tesla's FSD will mow down children regularly, Tesla issued a cease and desist letter. O'Dowd, for his part, announced on Twitter that he would work towards banning FSD even more, which is when he decided to run for office. It failed, thankfully. So far, O'Dowd's anti-Tesla efforts have been largely unsuccessful. He launched a campaign. I wouldn't say that. He's got a bunch of people parroting his garbage. He launched a campaign for Senate earlier this year, while admitting that his efforts were solely focused on his anti-Tesla crusade. O'Dowd, despite spending substantially in his Senate campaign, finished in 10th place with 74,916 votes in the June primary. I don't know what I want to react to that one. Lies are not opinions; they are lies. Exactly. Free speech is not a protection for liars. I don't know about that last part. Free speech, but free speech is protection from oppression from the government on impacting your speech. So if you want to go into Elon's house and then start bad mouthing him to his family, if he picks you up by the collar and puts you back out the door, he has not impacted your free speech. Just saying. You lost your welcome. That's what that was. Correct in the first two cases. Yes, exactly what I was just saying there. On the first two cases, a slight distinction applies. Lies that involve a threat or endangerment are criminal, whereas lies that merely cause monetary or reputational damage are civilly actionable. And lies that involve none of the above are just evidence of poor character or weak judgment. Example, habitually exaggerating or embellishing. At the very least, O'Dowd is engaging in civilly actionable lying and could argue his awareness of it is sufficient to suggest willful attempts to endanger, although the laws would tend to require proof of a specific victim's having been harmed by his deception rather than general harm to society. Well, you could just pull up some of the tweets that the dude has been parroted on. Just they use his words exactly, so you can just search on them. The other thing is, had he made his way to public office, that would put him in a different level of libel, and woo, that would be fun. This guy says Tesla lies about FSD. Sure they do. That's sarcasm right there. As we've delved into several times in the past, that they're very careful what they say about FSD and FSD beta on all of their communications. Oh. Endanger how? Find one instance where FSD beta causes death, let alone running over children. 160,000 beta testers right now, and not one and one documented minor incident. Yeah, I think that was the guy who ran into a curb, or let the car run into a curb. I have FSD driver assistance in my Tesla. If you actually knew anything, you would know Tesla describes exactly what FSD is, not on their website before you download it. After you download it, and then before you activate it, I have to agree that it's not true full self-driving. This is Tesla's goal, but they make it abundantly clear it's only an assistance program and you have to pay attention at all times. Wait, is this you, Dan? You have a constitutional right to lie. You do not have a constitutional right to be heard where you want to be heard. Yes. Also, libelous slander is not considered protection is not constitutionally protected, but has to be settled in civil court. Look at the case of Dominion Voting versus Fox News et al. Oh yes, this is true. Remember when? Oh man. Um, Not to mention the First Amendment only limits the government, not private citizens or organizations. Twitter is not legally required to spread any message, and it does not even have to supply a reason why it refused an ad. This is true. All right, let's. All right, lies belong to free speech. People just need to learn how to recognize them to an extent. Let's continue on before we get into the weeds and get up with some politics stuff. Let's go to Inside EVs, and we'll talk about. Let's talk about Porsche. They took the wraps off their 99X Gen 3 Formula E race car. This is more efficient, lighter, and faster than the previous models. And it looks pretty darn good. All right, so the ABB FIA Formula E World Championships kick off in Mexico City on January 14th. Teams will be sporting all new cars. Neato. Has a maximum regen of 600 kilowatts. Gum, 600 kilowatts. I think mine's limited to 50 kilowatts on a good day. That's some serious stopping power right there, because 50 will make it so I don't have to use my brakes except in an emergency stop. 250 kilowatts from the front and 350 kilowatts from the rear. That's 2.4 times more regenerative power than the 250 kilowatts the Gen 2 car was capable of. Power recuperation or regen is vital in Formula E racing. Without proper recuperation, driving techniques and strategy, the cars won't finish the race. Yeah, because they put out a lot of power. They stop a lot. Up to 600 kilowatts of regen. Porsche believes that greater than 40% of the energy used to drive the 99X during the race will be recovered by regen. That's cool. Another benefit of the vehicle accepting 600 kilowatts of power is that if it becomes necessary to pit, the vehicle can add 4 to 5 kilowatts in a 30-second charging boost. Oh my goodness, kilowatt hours in a charging boost. So that's phenomenal. So that's this entire stack of batteries behind me almost. No, it's 2 of them because they're each 3 and change kilowatt hours each. So that's like getting 2 of those batteries shoved into the car in 30 seconds or less. That's incredible. Ooh, here it is. Lightest. The 99X electric ever built. Oh, what? We missed the unveil. There it is. All right, so that was pretty cool. Formula E rules require all teams use the same batteries and chassis. Also, the new front motor for regenerative braking has been added this year. It's also the same spec across all teams. However, everything behind the driver is developed in-house by each team. That's kind of cool. I like seeing them come up with their own tech. But the standards also make some sense, unless they're all identical, like with NASCAR. It's like, what's the point? I guess the point of NASCAR is to do the driver skill and pit skill and all that, but it's a little boring to me that all the cars are identical. EA's worst nightmare. Kyle Connor did a charging test with the Hummer EV, and he came up with some interesting price charts, and some of them were downright affordable. Others were like, "Oh my goodness, that's expensive." Moving on. My state of South Dakota. Cures the renewable energy blues. So, these are the wind estimates developed by AWS True Power LLC for Wind Navigator. So basically, this is a Tina Kacey article, so you know that means it's going to be longer. So I'm going to put it in the chat. Let's see if I can remember why I put it in here to begin with. Political knives are still out when the topic turns to climate change, but it looks like the energy transition is going to happen anyway. Case in point is the red state of South Dakota. I voted, and it was still red. which has now amassed enough renewable energy to fulfill its own electricity needs and then some. So, using their own wind and hydro, they are fully uh, able to take care of their needs while still exporting, which is quite cool. State got its first hydropower facilities up and running in 1912, followed by another growth spurt in the 1950s. Hydropower was king of renewable energy and Energy Hill in South Dakota for the next 50 years or so. Wind turbines began to dot the landscape in the early 2000s when developers caught on to the high quality wind resources in the state. The neighboring states are just covered in windmills, like coming back through Illinois and Idaho and a bunch of the others. Woo! uh, in fact, I was talking to my mom about that. She's a long distance trucker now. Uh, she knows the same thing I did about how they all flash in unison in some areas, and it's quite unnerving. You're driving along, and all of a sudden everything's red and it's spinning, and then it's dark, and it's red and spinning. Oh, so the latest figure from the American Clean Power Association is even more impressive, topping 3,000 megawatts. So 3 gigawatts. IEA has this to say about the surge in renewable energy development in South Dakota. Resources supplied more than 4/5 of. Wow, that's incredible. So between hydro and wind and solar and whatever else, uh, more than 4/5 of the electricity generated in South Dakota, mostly from wind and hydro, in 2021, wind surpassed hydro's contribution uh, to South Dakota's in-state electric generation for the first time. Wow, that's pretty good. They kind of buried the lead there, but local reporters were quick to note that it was quite a feat to have another renewable energy resource overtake hydro, especially considering the relatively short time frame. All really cool. South Dakota produces 120% of its electricity consumed on the annual average to offset the 120% of the pollution and greenhouse gases mining from fossil fuels produced there or elsewhere create 100% of South Dakota's electricity. So they're doing their own carbon offsets. uh, that's actually a good thing that that they're same thing that Microsoft is doing, trying to undo all of their um, damage ever, and then that of their customers once they finish their own. Uh, if you have the inside scoop on those central South Dakota counties and tribal lands, drop us a note in the thread. All right. 200 megawatts Sweetland wind farm. That's pretty cool. Not so much solar. All of this activity is a sharp contrast with South Dakota solar industry, which has been shuffling around in circles over the past few years. State lawmakers can take part or all of the blame for failing to establish a firm legislative platform for solar power during the Obama administration. Glimmer of hope appeared in 2020 when the German developer Workcon won a permit to construct the 110 megawatt Lookout Solar Park to be built partly on private property within the Pine Ridge Reservation. I mean, I did see some solar out there, but yeah, nothing like I saw with wind. Wind was like, whoa. I didn't know about the hydro. Lookout was supposed to be the first utility scale solar array in the state, the first to need a Public Utilities Commission permit due to their size, and the first of its size to be built on tribal land. The model could be replicated in other locations near transmission lines for rural energy rural renewable energy products. DOT explained, making note that access to existing transmission infrastructure was a key factor. DOT also noted that tribal employment rights ordinance would cover hiring for the project. That's pretty cool. Of course, green hydrogen. Don't worry about hydrogen, folks. Not yet. That's cool. Moving on. Oh, I did the Twitter thing again. Sorry, guys. So this is a tweet from Sawyer Merritt from Esther Kuckelman. Says breaking: customers that ordered a Plaid in Europe are now getting confirmation from Tesla that their Teslas will be delivered by the end of November. And she also got confirmation that they are indeed on a ship now. That's pretty darn cool. So if you've been waiting for over a year for your Plaid in Europe, the time is now. Look to get it by the winter holidays. All right, so now this one from Drive Tesla. We'll switch on over here. Tesla updates Model 3 taillights in North America to add amber turn signals and more. This one is a pet peeve of mine, having red turn signals and brake lights, because just because it's legal to use one bulb for everything in the back of your car in America doesn't mean it's right. Also doesn't mean it's pretty. Time and again, studies have shown that having amber hazard lights and amber turn signals makes it a lot quicker for the person behind you to figure out what the heck you're up to. Because if you're one of those people just resting your foot on the brake, well, or tapping it, if somebody just gets behind you, they don't know your situation if they don't see the brake light, the high mount brake light, that can be burnt out. One or more of your other lights can be burnt out, and you can be tapping the brake. We don't know. It takes a minute to figure out what's going on. Not a literal 60 seconds, but longer than it needs to in an emergent situation. Because if you are slamming on the brakes and you've only got one red light on the back of your car, and somebody doesn't know what it means until we're too close now, uh, that's a bad day. So this has been the case on Model Ys for quite a while. Before I moved here, the Model Y had already switched to amber turn signals, and so now some Model 3s get the amber tail lights, amber turn signals from the Model Y. They're actually the same drop in. Let's see. It only affects the Model 3 performance at Fremont after October 2024 of 2022 at this time. There's no mention if the change would make its way to other Model 3 variants, but as with other changes, we fully expect this to happen in the future. Yeah, just make one light worldwide. Done. Until now, the turn signal in the Model 3 taillights was red, same color as the brake lights. With the updated design, the turn signal is now amber, making it much clearer to nearby motorists that you're planning on turning. And then they point out that studies have shown a 28% decrease in the likelihood of collision with amber turn signals. And they also point out that the outer curved section of the headlight, they call it the outer C-shaped portion in this case, now illuminates brighter when braking. This happens when you apply the brakes manually, when driver assist feature applies the brakes for you, or when regen slows the car down, which when the regen slows the car down above a certain rate of deceleration. One final change is that the red portion of the taillights is a brighter shade of red when the taillights are off. Okay. And it was so. Yeah, it was before we moved here. These changes were implemented in the Model Y in August of 2020. So right before we moved here. You can watch a video showing off the changes on the Model 3 Performance delivered in Fort Worth, Texas this week. I just picked up 2023 Model 3 Performance literally a few hours ago in Fort Worth. I think I lucked out because they gave me one with Model Y taillights. Or was there a design change? Question mark. I have both the C-style braking light and amber turn signals. Anyone else experience the same thing? Those the brighter lights because his autofocus to mess up. And there's amber turn signals. A little bit hard to tell with this camera quality he's got there, and the way that the car is situated in the light and dark, but you can still see it. All right, so this one is not new. This is the upper control arm campaign for the urethane sealant, and move on. This is from not a Tesla app. The 2022.40.4 software update includes the updates to make the Tesla Vision system mimic the ultrasonic sensors. Green, they only found some code that I think we talked about this last week, but now there's more confirmation of it. There's some code that makes the car perform more like it did back before they removed the ultrasonic sensors from Model 3 and Model Y, which is pretty impressive, especially when you see right here, it's got the line right there. But as we've discussed, as long as the car was on and saw stuff go into its blind spot, it can pretty accurately determine what's going on in the blind spot, the 3 feet in front of the car. But the concern is, I think I showed you guys the one where the guy had the garage door closed, puts out a tire, a wheel, not just a tire, a whole wheel in front of the car, opens the door, and then the car sees nothing, and not nothing, but no danger, and would be willing to drive over the wheel, or bike, or child, pet, etc. Um, this one's kind of cool. We'll look at that next. I think I pulled it out for later, but I seen in the video, a vehicle without ultrasonic sensors will not display any information to the driver regarding nearby objects. The distance to nearby objects is not displayed on the screen, nor are the colored arcs that usually appear when an object is nearby. However, with 2022.40.4, appears to reintroduce some functionality to owners of these vehicles, at least in shadow mode. That's where Green was talking about, but he could see it. But all the cars he has to test are equipped with sensors, so he can't tell um, how they would actually behave. And he put a call out asking for anyone with the newer cars to help him test it. So if you've got one of those and you would like to help the hacker community out, get a hold of Green. He won't break your car or anything, but it will build the knowledge of the community. So here again, Monroe diagram showing the 3 foot to 1 foot, or 3 foot by 1 foot blind spot right in front of the car. And again, if the car can see stuff enter that space, it can remember that it's there. We don't know if it does, but it could. There's nothing stopping it from doing that. However, like with the garage door scenario, or if the car goes to sleep, is rebooted, etc., it doesn't know what's in there, and that could be a problem. Tesla built the car, and they know about the blind spot, so I'm curious what their solution is, as I don't think that they would intentionally remove all the sensors if they didn't think that was a problem. Or if they didn't think it was a problem. If they had removed all the other sensors except the fronts, then that would be their way of making sure that the front is not got something camped out there. And that's not to say they're perfect either. I've got a license plate camped out right in front of my sensor, and it doesn't see it because I aimed it just perfectly. It sees everything else around that, but when I first put it on, it could see the license plate, and that was a problem. Ask if Tesla will stop utilizing ultrasonic sensors like they did with radar. Yes. But right now, the S and the X don't currently lack the sensors yet. Sugar's dropping. I think I'll go with a Reese's cup. But before we do that, let's look at this Tesla Semi assets being found in the app. Sorry, I had to mute myself. Patrick said that sometimes the stunner doesn't hide the crinkling of wrappers for me, so I didn't want to just get you high quality wrappers in your ears for those of you on headphones. Tesla Semi visualizations are found in the new Tesla app update. I like that red seatbelt. So here we can see the two screens, the 4 cup holders, some switches, the door. I think it might have 2 doors. It should have 2 doors. Fire extinguisher, and we can see the day cab doesn't have much going on there. It's like a wall. And the first one is a day cab. The sleeper hasn't been seen yet. This came from the folks that decompile the iOS and Android app. Let's see if we get more pictures. So we can see the large frunk. It's interesting. The frunk has got a L shape to it. Over here, it's a lot shorter than way back here. So it's kind of like the classic Model S, where it just had a bigger portion, like the microwave we called it. We can see it's got a rear hinge door still, just like it had on the prototypes and the announcement model. Here we can see the back of it, all that extra space in the back of the fairing, and I think this will be great for adding a sleeper cab later. Like, look at all of that room you have in the back of the vehicle. This structure seems to be pretty stout right here. How do I close this? There we go. Here we can see the charge port, which wasn't the kind of detail I expected from the charge port. We can't tell if that's MCS2 or 3. Well, we kind of can. MCS2 is the rounded rectangle, like this, but MCS3 is a triangle, and there's a triangle in there too. So it's like, which one are they using? We know that we've only seen photos officially of MCS2 on the Tesla semi-chargers, and then we saw photos of MCS3 from its launch, but they weren't actually on the semi-charger, unfortunately. So that doesn't get us any closer, unfortunately. We can see where the charger is in relation to the wheels and the fifth wheel. Then we get another view of the inside of the cab. Underneath the right-hand screen, you get a Model 3 style wireless phone charger. You get two of them because you have two chairs. So you get a nice little storage pocket here, nice little entry here, more storage there. You can see your mirrors very well, but you've also got your digital mirrors on the right and left side of the rightmost and leftmost side of your screens. Get your control status display, probably also your electronic monitoring and fleet management stuff right here, and then you've got your navigation right here. I'm hoping that it's truck nav, because it'd be a little weird for them to put in the car nav and then have you have to hook up a Garmin or TomTom or something, which should be a bad experience. One thing that Marcus and I noticed the other day on the video of the guy who kept chasing it with his plaid, the side windows open up. And then here we can kind of see they've got handles on them. Are these handles to get in and out of the chairs, or are they handles to push open the window? As Marcus said, I expect that the windows are probably powered. Dan's asking, what is this? This is the Tesla app, the same one that we use to control our phones, our cars, and our power walls. And just straight up Solar City power system from the app, the just regular iPhone app. So that's pretty cool right there. Let's go to the discussion forum and see what happens. I don't want to register to reply. I'm probably already registered. Okay, so people aren't discussing it yet, it looks like. Yeah, because this brings us back here. That is really cool to me. I especially like that the jump seat is just a regular chair, except that the bottom folds up so you can get out of the way for you. Now I'm even more excited to see what the sleeper cab configuration looks like. Looking at these things from this angle, it does look like these are grabs and not window controls. Neat. I also noticed it does have stalks. It has stalks for turn signal and probably gear selector. Let's see. By gear selector, I do mean like drive, neutral, park, and reverse. But you can't see them here. Maybe it's because they're gone. Because this is the same as the plaids, except it's the plaid class cars, except it's got the round wheel instead of the yoke. I didn't want it in this window. All right, so then we've got the case that Renault is planning to set sail, literally, on a new class of cargo ship. Let's take a look. They claim a 90% ship emission reduction by adding sails and going on wind power, like we always used to do. And here you can see it looks like a drive on, drive off loading bay. And they're not even the first ones to do this. They're just the latest ones to do this. Partnership between carmaker and Neoline, a French-based company, aims to reduce Renault's global carbon footprint by eliminating many of the emissions from traditional fossil fuel-powered cargo ships. Neoline officials said that when propelled solely by the wind, their ship's total emissions dropped by as much as 90%. Why not 100%? Well, they're probably not solar and battery powered, so you still got to run the lights, the air conditioner, the sensors, the controls. What's up, Timothy? Greetings, e-cars and e-books. So, the roll it is a roll-on, roll-off ship. Use solid sails that are 50 meters tall. So the good thing about solid sails versus canvas sails is should be less maintenance. The firm says that about 300 to 400 vehicles can be shipped on each Neoline vessel. That's incredible. Although loading will take longer than it would using a traditional ship. A demonstration vessel shown was 446 feet in total length and had more than 45,000 square feet of sail. The shipper's intent is to deliver vehicles to North America is an intriguing wrinkle to this talks. Renault, now part of the alliance with Nissan and Mitsubishi, hasn't sold cars in the US under its own brand name since 1987. I saw a couple of those cars when I was in high school, actually. US return has been considered for years, and the partners are now in talks that could reshape the alliance. Wow. So, to start with, before they even come back, they could use it to deliver some Nissans and some Mitsubishis, which are still on sale. Okay, so when I say electrify all the things, I do mean decarbonize them. So sailing works. Sailing works. Now, if they can put some solar on those sails, and then they can run those controls and the lights and the AC and everything off of electric instead of fossils, that would be even better. Let's view the 5 comments and see what these people have to say. Still nothing. I think this happened when I first found the article. I tried to look at the comments and it didn't work. So we'll turn that back on and move on. Ali says hi from Turkey. Hello. All right, so this one here is some great news. Once I get it up on the screen. Tesla to allow salvage vehicles back on the supercharger network. So, um, for a while, Tesla had a recertification program where they would, after your car had been wrecked and totaled, you could untotal it. Well, not untotal it, but you could regain your use of the supercharger network and third-party high voltage charging. And then Tesla canceled the program, and then they reneged on their policies and then started taking away supercharging on cars that had already been certified, or you paid the money to say that, hey, not only is this car safe to drive, but it is also safe to supercharge. And that was one of those times I was criticizing Musk and Tesla. And now they have a new policy, which is kind of cool. Let's go through it in a second after I eat this other cup. Our friend Richie Builds ran into this a couple times with some of the vehicles he was dealing with, either his or his friends, colleagues. He also noted that it didn't apply consistently to Model 3 and Model Y vehicles. And he suspected it could have had something to do with the fact that these guys have paid supercharging and not free supercharging. It is a possibility, but I'm going to acknowledge that it's a possibility, and I'm not going to say that that's what happened because That is pure speculation. So, in 2021, Tesla started giving back supercharger access to salvage vehicles without any explanation. But it appeared it was a mistake because the automaker then reverted the move a week later. We talked about this as well. But now it looks like it's happening for real. Electrek has obtained Tesla documents that detail a process being put in place to inspect salvaged Tesla vehicles and give them back access to full charging or fast charging. The document is titled Salvaged Titled Vehicle Fast Charging Safety Inspection. Tesla explains a two-step process that involves inspecting the high voltage battery pack and all the components related to charging. If the car passes the inspections, Tesla will re-enable fast charging. And if it doesn't, the company will offer repairs. If you decline the repairs, they will not enable self back fast charging for you. So here it is. According to the documents obtained by Electrek, the salvage inspection program cannot be started until the vehicle has passed the salvage title vehicle high voltage safety inspection, which makes sense because even if it can charge safe, if it can't contain that charge safely, then you got a problem. Let's see. If a component fails inspection, diagnosis is required, and the component recertification may be required. Diagnosis and component recertification are not included in this inspection procedure. Of course, it's an inspect, not a repair, and may be performed only at customer expense. So Tesla or the insurance company or somebody's going to pay for this. I'm sorry, not Tesla. Uh, the insurance company, the Tesla customer, or whoever wrecked the car is going to pay for this, not Tesla. Let's see. If the customer declines to authorize the repair, stop inspection procedure, note that the vehicle has failed the inspection, and reinstall any components that were removed. Fast charging will not be re-enabled. Once the vehicle has passed inspection and fast charging has been enabled, if the vehicle fails the final charging test, any further diagnosis or repair are treated like any other vehicle. So at this point, your car is normal once you've passed the inspection. If charging has already been enabled and the customer declines further diagnosis or repairs, do not disable fast charging. Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. That's that last part is very important. Uh, very important. The new process is currently being put in place for all Tesla models. Electrek thinks this is great news. It's important to note how many Tesla vehicles that end up with salvage titles are not necessarily completely destroyed, like the one in the picture. That red crushed Model X we saw up there. As I've discussed before, Jilted X destroys your paint. Uh, Insurance company decides, oh, we don't want to pay to paint this thing. Or usually not just paint. Destroys the paint and all the body panels, or a significant portion of them. Insurance company could say, oh, we're not going to pay $40,000 in body panels and paint and labor. We're going to total it out. Well, at that point, it's a totaled car. And if somebody buys that car and they're fine with it, cheater scrawled on the side and a golf club dents on each panel, that's on them. But Tesla says, oh, it's totaled, so you can't charge. So you could bring in this car that says cheater on the side and has been attacked with a golf club, and if it holds a charge safely, and if it charges back to supercharges safely, they'll re-enable your supercharging for a fee, an inspection fee. And say maybe she hit the charge port door with the say your ex hit the charge port door with the golf club, and they determined that made it not as safe to charge. They would offer you say $300-400 to replace the charge port door, and if you accept that, and they do the work, they complete the test, your car is now re-enabled for supercharging, and you got it at a deep discount because it says cheater on the side and has dents on every quarter panel. And um, if you say no, then they'll just give it back to you. They'll put the old charge port door back on, and they'll say, "Hey, have a nice life, and good luck getting around the country without fast charging." Because it's not just fast charging at supercharge; it's fast charging on any DC fast charge. And if later on you do, if there was nothing wrong and you didn't need a charge port door, or you did need a charge port door and it was replaced, something else goes wrong later and the car stops supercharging, um, they now have to treat it like a regular Tesla that's been lovingly used by their owner with the scroll on the side. Um, and they charge you regular rates and they don't turn off your supercharging. So at that point, you could take it to a shop and get it repaired yourself or do it yourself, assuming that parts are available for what you need. So I like this. I like this. It would greatly increase the value of salvage Teslas, which is good since Tesla should encourage people who are fixing those, since it's literally recycling. And that's what we, as a community, have been talking about in the past. Yes, it's bad if one of these things comes online and it's not in good shape, and if something happens to it, like a fire or whatever. But that's what the certification program was for. So to make sure that it reduce the likelihood of this sort of thing happening. So they'd go in, they'd check the torque on the high voltage lugs, and everything like that, just to make sure you're good. And what it appeared, not saying that's what was happening, what it gave the appearance that they were just trying to push new Tesla cars, which they were, but they weren't necessarily trying to trash the environment by having all these husks of Teslas littering up the place. Yes, you could recycle them. Yes, they probably sit in the junkyard and get scavenged for parts. And the bigger problem wasn't all of that, but that the batteries are being scavenged for other projects, which is fine. But folks were buying these salvage cars and not having any battery. Like you buy the car, you open it up, nothing. So now you got to buy a battery, but you can't because it's salvage title, and Tesla won't sell you parts for a salvage vehicle. And so now you've wasted money and you've got a husk just sitting there that you don't want to recycle because it's a perfectly good car. All it needs is a battery. Yep. So let's move on from there. It's a good thing, and they finally did the right thing. Oh, that's in the wrong window. Why did you do it in the wrong window? There we go. We'll share this tab instead. All right, so Tesla Semi's EPA range will simply never exist. Here's why. Um, Heavy trucks aren't rated for EPA range. That's the gist of this story. Um, the EPA recognizes that there are different load ratings, different styles, different use cases for these things, and so they don't have an EPA mileage rating. Tesla says 500 miles, and then they'll have to tell you how they're achieving that. One second here. Anyway, so the EPA range rating doesn't exist for any semi truck, let alone the Tesla. The 350 and 500 are using Tesla methodology, but uh, as far as the EPA certification, it was done the same way as everybody else. Da, da, da. Sorry, I got distracted by some notifications. They want somebody to look at this place. Well, that was distracting. Well, there we go. That's the gist of that article. All right, so Bosch is going to be the service provider for Scion Solar EV repairs under a partnership with Sono Motors. So Sono Motors is one of the up and coming EV manufacturers, much like Aptera and several others that, uh, because they're new, they're going to need some service. And I, I know they were like open source. I don't remember if these are the same guys who were doing the green, like literally the car was alive because it was plants. Um, but they were lightweight, they were inexpensive, and they had a right to repair level to them. And so Bosch will be your service provider, at least in Europe, which is cool. I remember them. They were the solar. So that's why I said like Aptera. They were solar in every panel, um, as well. So moving on. This is a Twitter post. So let's copy this, paste it here. All right, the real story from this report is not the EV share, but rather the fact that Tesla is leading is leading premium brand in the US and up to 50% year over year, while all other brands from the top 10 are down year over year. Tesla up 50, BMW down 10, Mercedes-Benz down 4, Lexus down 19, Audi down 22, Cadillac down 7, Acura down 42%, Volvo down 28, and Porsche down 8. This is called gaining market share. Where's Ford? These are premium brands. Ford is a mass brand. You forgot the star. When only look at one segment, not discussing the fact that OEMs sell in multiple segments. No, it's a report on premium cars. This actually reinforces it for Tesla because they're killing it with the competition with only 4 models. Fair enough. All 4 of those models are in that one segment. Yes. Whatever. Total brand registrations, so it includes all the other vehicle types that these OEMs are selling. This guy thinks it's only EVs. He says, read again. Let's take a look. Luxury registration. Top brands by new vehicle registrations January to September. 2021, Tesla 230, 779. 2022, 346, 827. Porsche saw a slight dip. Lincoln saw a slight dip. Volvo saw a medium point dip, like as we saw while looking at the pure numbers. Acura went from 130 to 75. Good gracious. Yeah, so this guy says absolute dominance. Incredible so overlooked because the CEO bought Twitter. The unit sales growth comparisons to other car makers is the info you'd like Tesla CEO to communicate or tweet. By providing Tesla dominance data, further secure the consumer's perception to increase Tesla business. This guy says Acura, grimacing face. Now that it's dead, the brand can switch to EVs also. Yay! Yeah, they could. All right, so that's the same chart we just looked at, and these are just the EVs right here. So top 10 EV models is by registration is Tesla Model Y, as we keep saying time and time again. Tesla Model Y, 156,455, followed extremely closely by the Tesla Model 3 at 144,081. And then the next one up by quite a distance is the Ford Mach-E at 28,088. Then the Model X at 23,435. And the Model X is expensive. The Model S, which is not as expensive, but still up there, 22,856. Not to mention that that they just became available again very recently. The Kia EV6 at 17,149, and we might see that one further dip now that it's $7,000 more expensive and doesn't qualify for the tax credit for the upcoming year. Whereas the Chevrolet Bolt EUV, it will, and it got 15,403, followed by the Volkswagen ID4 at 11,001. Come on, VW. And the Nissan Leaf at 9,261. Wow, that thing is still kicking. Like you don't see them advertise it. You see it every now and then. You see it on the street. That's incredible. Hopefully, we see the Leaf start to get replaced by the Aria, and then we start to see it do some serious business. Let's continue on. Tesla Roddy is pointing out that the Model Y continues to dominate in China as well, incredibly, at least as far as premium SUV is going. The Tesla China sales were at 71,704. Since the month, it's impressive since the month included the national holiday, which ran from October 1st to October 7th. So that's a whole week gone. That's incredible. During this time, the facility was not at full staff. A lot of stuff I deal with in China was just shut down. Like, yeah, we're not building anything, not shipping anything, no calls. We'll see you in a week. Company sold 13,303 units of the all-electric crossover in October. Not bad. So they had a 1,000 increase despite being gone a week from a month that was just a full month. That's incredible. Not bad. All right, moving on. Tesla started hiring for the Cybertruck production. And after this article was released, they put another 3 jobs on the list. So I don't see door handles on this one, but we still see the wiper is a little bit shorter. So this is one of the later prototypes, but not one of the late test prototypes. Let's see what kind of jobs they have here. Dimensional engineer, body in white Cybertruck, manufacturing operations leader Cybertruck, senior equipment engineer, body in white Cybertruck, dimensional engineering manager, body in white Cybertruck, engineering manager, body in white Cybertruck, senior engineering of robotics, body in white Cybertruck. And then, like I said, 3 more came online later. That is really cool. So the fact that they're hiring for this darn thing means that we're getting closer. If the all-electric pickup truck market is now being saturated by early movers, what? Whatever. Wait, Lordstown's making 100 trucks, I think. Anyway, there's people arguing about the Cybertruck because it's ugly or whatever. LaGuardia. Let's look at LaGuardia. So LaGuardia will host a flywheel-based ultra-fast EV charging pilot. And I'm assuming that's LaGuardia Airport. Zeus Power's flywheel boosting EV charging system will be piloted at New York City's LaGuardia Airport. Yep. By a large global car rental company. All right. Flywheel storage is useful. It's mechanical instead of chemical, and it works. And it requires extreme precision in manufacturing and safety, but it works. It worked well, especially better on a stationary situation. We saw some EV buses in the 60s that were actually flywheel powered, and we just weren't ready for it back then. So it's kinetic. So it's the same situation as the KERS system, kinetic energy recovery, but this one's in a flywheel. I think KERS is also a flywheel though. 150 kilowatt high power. All right. So just replace your chemical battery with a spinning wheel. Let's see if there are any comments on this thing. No. All right. Let's talk about battery recycling. Redwood and Audi want to turn your old electronic devices into EV batteries. So I got into an argument with a guy who said, "What do you do about your used cell phone batteries?" And I was like, "Well, I only have 1 or 2 used cell phone batteries, and I dumped them in one of these things, like a Best Buy or whatever. All the others, they haven't been removable, and I can't trade them out before the phone becomes useless." I did have one last one this year. My Pixel 3 XL, it puffed, and I mailed it out anyway. And then Google stole it. I'll give you 0 credit because the battery is puffed. It's like, well, shoot, give me back my phone. I can buy a battery and then give it back to you. But that's neither here nor there. So that was still responsibly recycled in theory. Because my argument was nobody's thrown away EV batteries because even completely dead, they still have thousands of dollars worth of value in them. So Redwood and Audi, I want you to bring your phones and stuff get recycled, which is cool. I like that they were a much safer looking box than the cardboard thing that the stores had for a while. Redwood already has a partnership with Volkswagen to recycle end of use batteries from Volkswagen and Audi. But this time, the automaker has partnered with Redwood to support the collection of household lithium-ion batteries alongside larger EV batteries. That's good. So hopefully we see these little boxes show up everywhere because the way Redwood does it, they kind of just freeze dry it so that the chemical reactions can't occur. And while it's frozen, they grind them up and then they start to separate out the different elements: plastic, lithium, aluminum, cobalt, manganese, etc. And then they offer 2 services. They have a battery grade materials that they sell out, and then they have just recycled metals that they sell out, metals and plastic that they sell out, which is cool. This is another tweet, so we'll copy and paste. So here are some of the jobs for Cybertruck. And then another, sorry, merit tweet. What do we got here? Breaking. You can now donate SpaceX's Starlink to an organization or community in need. So we talked about SpaceX's Starlink to an organization or community in need. So we talked about them opening up donation on their homepage a few weeks ago, and now it's ready. You can donate to a Starlink cause, such as education, telehealth, emergency response, or humanitarian, or you can pick the organization of your choice. And you just go to starlink.com/donate. So let's take a look at that. I'll copy the words. I'm going to copy the link. She's spitting, baby. She's spitting. My mom pointed out that it might be her doing the Zerberts. Note: Starlink donations do not qualify as tax-deductible charitable donations because Starlink is not a charity. SpaceX is not a charity. But you can still do the right thing. Here we are. Donate to Starlink. Do not qualify as tax-deductible charitable donations. 2 ways to donate. Donate now. You can pick a place. Or you can end organization of your choice. You confirm the organization is in a serviceable area by checking the availability map. Contact the organization to confirm they will accept your donation, and order Starlink on their behalf visiting starlink.com/RV. Interesting. Interesting that they're donating the RV, but I think that might just be because you can start and stop the RV service. That's probably has a lot to do with it. You can't start and stop the home service, and then the business service costs a lot more. So it makes sense. Education, telehealth, emergency response, humanitarian efforts. I notice that most of these are round issues. Most all? I can only say most because we can't see the one that's outside the school. This one is much more disappointing than we'd like to see. Tesla has canceled solar projects en masse, scales back their solar division. Last time we saw this was when Solar City was trying to go out of business before Tesla bought them, and they were leaving markets just up in the lurch, and they're doing it again. And not all of them are small markets either. Like, let's see. Tesla achieved records last quarter. Had strong performance with 94 megawatts of solar deployed, 13% year over year. Momentum was not without issue. Tesla had to stop scheduling solar roof projects in most markets in Q3. They focused on deploying the products on new construction projects, like a large one in Austin. Now we learn that Tesla is canceling many solar projects, including some in advanced stages, and the company is saying that it is shutting down operations in some markets. Over the last 3 days, Electrek has received half a dozen reports from Tesla solar customers who have been informed that the company will not be moving forward with their projects and canceling the order. Those customers all received this email from Tesla this week. Thank you for your interest in Tesla Solar. Upon further review of your project, our team has determined that your home is in an area we no longer service. As we cannot complete your order, we have processed your cancellation. You'll receive a full refund of any collected deposit within 7 to 10 business days to the card on file. Excuse me. This includes customers who had solar panels or solar roofs on order, and even some projects that were already designed and permitted. Based on social media channels checks, hundreds of customers are likely in the same situation. In an email, Tesla writes that it is no longer servicing the areas where those customers are located. We've received reports from customers in major markets, including the greater Los Angeles area, Northern California, Oregon, and Florida. I don't know what's going on here. We will update you as we learn more. It does not look good, especially since this has been done before. Although, what Tesla does say in the email refers to Tesla certified installers in their area, so you can get somebody else to do it. So in the Charleston area, a friend of ours, Ori Boss, his company does Tesla certified installs Powerwall. I don't know that he does too many. He does solar roof, but he doesn't do too many of the Tesla panels. He does more affordable options for that, but you can still put a Powerwall on it. And then if you want the solar roof, he's got them as well. He also has a really nice product for metal roofs that lets you put a solar array on a metal roof without destroying the appeal and look of your metal roof, which is phenomenal. That's Boss Energy in Charleston, South Carolina. That's not an advertisement. It's a shout out. It's unpaid. It's free. There you go. Oh, speaking of shout outs that are not free and not paid, or whatever. So this is an ad right here. Link down below if you want a hand show mod for your car, like my power frunk or my Tesla yoke or my kick opener for the rear hatch or any number of other Hancho accessories. They're running a promotion, so if you use my code down below during I don't know the dates, but for the holidays, for the winter holidays, they're offering additional discounts on top of that. So you can use that. They eventually will give me a little kickback. You get your discount, and you get a car that's been modded to your specs, which is kind of cool. You get the they have taillights, they have screens, they have auxiliary screens, and I like the 3 that I've got, so there's that. Alright, so on from that disappointment from Tesla, let's go on to something a little more exciting. Got a Tesla Twitter. This might be the app, so we'll probably end up skipping it because we just talked about it earlier at the beginning of the show with the truck. Yep. So, the Tesla app updates iOS group is the one who decoded the app and found these things. Um, you can add a key, just like you can with the Model 3, S, and X, the new ones, and Y. Some new juice in the PCK. Stay joined to the thread. So you got semi and wheels. Although we don't see any semi wheels, we see the semi without wheels. These are just darker versions of what we saw earlier. And let's see if we can't recache the thread. Anyway, let's just go to their place. All right, let's see. While they're at it, the first reference to the Cybertruck has also arrived. Very early stages for this, but right now the team at Tesla is using a Model Y asset. If the car is detected as the truck, also referenced as Model C for the Model Key. Node path. Truck. Ego is Y. High Model Y. S. All right. C for truck. Oh, that makes sense. C for Cybertruck. Constant vehicle model key from VIN. S is Model S. 3 is Model 3. X is Model X. Y is Model Y. C is truck. T is semi-truck. That's pretty cool. And the truck, Vector 1, which is probably still a Model Y from what they're discussing here. Let's open that in a new tab and continue on. I was not getting the updates on this thread. Tesla Semi assets have now arrived in the app. Yep. Add the key. All right, so we're caught up on that. We don't know what happens to the broken thread, but it looks like the end of it. Let's double check. It's a mega sun visor, like a mega desk. So the sun visor is huge. I was talking to my mom about the sun visor, asked her if that was particularly large. She pointed out that on some trucks, the sun visor is smaller than the one in your car. So a mega visor would be appreciated. And I like that it's got kind of a cutout there for the in-cabin camera. And I noticed that the in-cabin camera is facing a different direction there. It's not facing straight at the driver. I wonder if it's kind of like a fisheye, so it can see you, see the road, see what you're doing with the wheel, which is actually, it makes sense. I'd feel safer that way if the driver attentiveness was even better. All right, let's look at that other thing that they were talking about here. All right, so the first reference to the Cybertruck has also arrived, very early stages, but right now the team at Tesla is using the Model Y. We talked about that. Let's see what else. Sexy cart. Sexy cat. I'm guessing the R is roadster. But yes, right now it is sexy cat. Elon and cat girls, I guess. She's not fruit in Chinese. Well, it is fruit in Jamaica. Oh, robotaxi. Anyway, let's continue on. Got another Sawyer Merit post. Copy link, paste, go. Tesla's opened a new distribution center in Germany. This new location, which has space for battery storage, among other things, is located in the center of the EU, making it extremely convenient for supplying various countries in the region. So they can store batteries, they can store whole cars, they can store parts in this new distribution center. Um, that was the gist of that article. This one was fun. Tesla earned 8 times more profit than Toyota per car in Q3. So for uh, if they both built 100 cars and made $100 per car for the Toyota, for instance, then Tesla made $800 per car for the 100 cars. Not bad. Let's see. Toyota sales are 7 times that of Tesla, but the American automaker earned 8 times more profit per vehicle than Toyota in Q3. Tesla reported an income of 3.29 billion in Q3. During the same period, Toyota earned 434.2 billion yen, or about $3.15 billion. The Japanese automaker is now on taking on increased material and energy costs for its suppliers. Higher material costs, including supplier assistance, push down quarterly operating profits, according to the Nikkei Asia. Pretty cool stuff. And they point out that Toyota offers a range of vehicles and powertrains. Tesla's only focused on electric vehicles. Well, we can come back and talk about it when Toyota decides to get serious about electric vehicles. All right, let's go to Starbase. Um, so, according to the information, SpaceX's Gwen Shotwell takes over Starbase Mars mission, which is fine because she can produce. She's been running all of SpaceX, and Elon's been focusing on his pet projects. So we know that they know how to work together. And now that she's doing this, we know that the Mars mission is going to happen. It's going to happen on time and on budget, which is good. Read the article for free. All that. So I thought I saw the article in full before, and now I don't. Cool stuff. I'll look at finding more about it from somewhere else without a paywall. Copy link. Tesla supplier LG secures lithium carbonate supply from a Utah mine. The 6-year term agreement is set to begin in 2025. Under the terms, LG would be receiving 40% of Compass Minerals' anticipated annual production of 11,000 metric tons during the first phase. So here we go again. LG and Tesla just buying up everybody's supply. Not that that's a bad thing. We've got the Model Y and Model 3 are California's best-selling cars through September. According to the recently released data from the California New Car Dealers Association, 3 and Y are the top-selling cars in California through the first 9 months of 2022. Not just electric, not just premium, all new cars. Not bad. Hello, Zachary. Good to see you. The Model Y is a top-selling car overall with 61,544 registrations between January and September, putting it at the top of the luxury compact SUV segment. Model 3 was just behind with 56,851 in the same period, making it the best-selling passenger car, and also giving it a dominating 54.3% of the market share in that segment. Showing off their dominance, the next closest competitor after Model 3 and Y was the Toyota RAV4 gas, which accumulated 44,738 sales. Wow. Which is more than 12,000 behind the Model 3. The Camry was fourth, so when Rich calls the Model 3 the California Camry, he just needs to switch it to the Model Y. And the Camry was fourth at 40,358 registrations. Wow, that's incredible. The Model X did not make the top 3 as it's is a luxury mid-sized SUV and expensive. However, it did come in fourth with 7467 Model X's registered, reaching 10.9% of the segment's market share. Wow. That's against all gas SUVs and everything. Not bad. All right, we've got an Instagram. I don't remember what this is. What is an Instagram? Oh, yeah, I remember what this is. Let's turn on the sound. This is Rivian at their water trough test. I can't make this bigger, can I? Nope. So you got an R1T, followed closely by an R1S. Rivian wants to note that driving, putting a little work at the lap pool. Driving video was filmed by professional drivers on a closed course designed for testing purposes. Be responsible and drive safely. So what made me most comfortable with electric cars in everyday use was when I first saw this same test done with a Nissan Leaf and a Chevy Volt. I ended up buying the Chevy Volt, but I knew that if they could handle this test, then I didn't have to worry about anything with water, except for not driving in it, of course, like getting swept away in a flood. But like splashes, car washes, no big deal. If you can do this with the short little cars like the Chevy Volt and Nissan Leaf, I wasn't even surprised that the trucks could do it. Not at all. It's phenomenal. What's next? Alright, so let's go over to... If I can get my control set up right. Let's go back over to Electrek for their weird Chinese Alibaba Vehicle of the Week. And it's not opening the right window repeatedly, so we're going to force it to where I want it here. And the weird Chinese electric tractor can tow more than your dinosaur truck. Yeah, because it is rated to tow jumbo jets. Let's see. When I was a kid, I wanted to have a tugboat. So cool, the little boat could pull massive ships around. I grew up, realized a tugboat probably wasn't practical. Or I found the land equivalent that solves practically the same problem, an airport electric tractor. This baby has the horses to pull just about anything anywhere. It can haul your overweight bags, and it can move an airplane, and it could probably relocate a terminal if necessary. Okay, maybe not that. If you think your big truck is impressive, oh, it can tow a trailer? That's cute. My electric tractor can haul the factory where your trailer was made. Nice. F-150 Lightning, take your 7,000 pounds of capacity and go home. Rivian, your 11,000 pound capacity is adorable. Step back, boys and girls, while I demonstrate my rice-fed 60,000 pound stump raw pulling towing capacity. Not bad. If it's anything like everything else on this segment of his, I imagine it's going to be around $10,000 or less. This thing could stand up at the DC Lincoln Memorial, straighten out the Leaning Tower of Pisa, pull a tooth out of Chuck Norris, maybe, if you caught him by surprise. The 9,200-pound beast weighs as much as a Hummer EV super truck, yet can tow 9 times as much. You can even link 6 of these into massive Hummer EVs nose-to-nose, like the world's most manhood-compensated train, and you can still tow that rolling provocation with this little airport tug. How do they do it? I have no idea. It runs an 80-volt system, though I've got a leaf blower that also runs 80 volts. Either those Chinese engineers are up to something, or I've been seriously babying that blower. Let's see, 60,000 pounds. Neighborhood kids threw toilet paper to trees again. Too high to get them out. Bam, no more tree. The best parking places at Home Depot have those annoying bollards keeping you out. What bollards? Nothing this tractor can't do. Pick one of these puppies up and you'll be looking for uses left and right. Just wait until your wife hands you another pickle jar to open. It's going to be epic. He drew little flames on the side. Only problem is this electric tractor is also epically expensive at a cool $53,000. Oh my goodness, that is a lot more expensive than everything else on this segment. Not segment as like the one it sells in, but segment as in weird Alibaba find of the week. Wow. I'll just tell my publisher I could use one around the Electrek office in case we ever need to move the office. Yeah, that's it. All right, no comments on that one. That's fine. And the Boring Company. We talked last week about how they were not doing the Austin pedestrian tunnel anymore. They haven't given up. They filed plans to build a tunnel underneath the Austin Convention Center, and this one they call it the Austin Loop. So we're suspecting it to be more like the Vegas Loop than a pedestrian system. Hello, baby. You're back. Mommy's getting ready to show the house. What's in your mouth? Lint? You're reaching for your toy. Here's your toy. Here's your toy. Are you looking at mommy? There you go. So anyway, so this is expected to be a loop, just like we saw in Vegas. However, all the paperwork has just started being filed. It's not done yet. It's not reviewed, so we don't know one if it's going to be approved, and we don't know two how extensive it's going to be. But we are excited. Yes, thank you, sweetie. So, with me now holding another wiggly baby situation, and the fact that the landlord wants to show this house off in a few minutes, what we're going to do is we are going to uh, thank our patrons and channel members. Remember to electrify all the things or decarbonize, as we saw with the ships. And also, we also want to thank all of you guys for participating in chat, from Zachary to Daniel to Ali to Timothy, Anders, some guy named Casey Green, Lance, and yeah, thank you all for participating, and we'll catch you on the flip side. So what I'm going to do with this stuff that's in the phone is I'm going to salvage whatever's still relevant next week, and put it in the show. And I'm not quite sure what kind of show we're going to be looking at, because the plan is to be moved out of this place on Saturday, even though we don't have to vacate it right away. And it might be a shorter show from the car. I don't like doing the car shows from the car, but since even the arrival of this monster didn't stop us from doing the show every week, I would like to not let a simple move be something that stops me. I've got RV internet back there, so we should be fine. Just a matter of probably pulling over and chatting with you guys for at least an hour. And with that, on to greener trails. We'll catch you on the flip side.